All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the YouTube channel. My name is Alexander Medeiros, also known as Wi-Fi Gospel. Tonight, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reviewing Rachel Wilson's recent debate with the one and only debate coach from DebateCon, Amanda. I don't remember her last name, but basically, the first thing I'm going to do is show you guys a clip of how we all came to know who Amanda is. Before I do that, I'd just like to introduce my friend here, Schoolboy. Schoolboy has been an avid part of the debate community for several years now, and you've probably seen him on many different streams, especially in Discords and a lot of different Discord debate communities and Orthodox communities. But if you want to say a little bit more about yourself, Schoolboy, say hi to everybody.
What's going on, guys? You can call me Schoolboy Damaskinos. I am a tonsured reader in the Greek Orthodox Metropolia of Boston. And yeah, I've been around. You may have seen me in a viral clip that I had almost a year ago now where I talked to Cliff Connectley. And yeah, just here hanging out with Alex and doing a little debate review.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. So this is going to be the clip that you know, or if you do know Amanda, this is how you know her. She is the self-proclaimed debate and speech coach who confronted Rachel Wilson at DebateCon. Let's check it out.
Ready for you.
Oh, sorry. Okay. First of all, thank you, Rachel, for being here. You too, Craig.
Thank you.
I'm a teacher and debate coach, so I know what it takes to get up here. So my question is for Rachel. Feminism, you may have a different definition, but you can look it up. Feminism is ultimately the theory that women can be equal to men in all things. So I think patriarchy hurts everybody, and I'm asking about a very specific thing right here. Teacher pay. I'm a teacher. We have lots of male teachers. Historically, which you said yourself, the reason teachers get paid is because paid lower is because it was a secondary income. Can you concede that maybe patriarchy has hurt men in this way? Because while men still make 75 cents, or women still make 75 cents to the dollar that men make, teachers do not get paid a lot. So while there are biological aspects to wanting to become a teacher, like caregiving, can you concede that maybe patriarchy has also hurt men in this way?
Well, first of all, the gender pay gap is a myth. Once you control for things like women taking more vacation time, voluntarily working less hours, taking maternity leave, things like that, men voluntarily wanting to work overtime, wanting to put in more work, the gender pay gap basically disappears. But I'm not sure, as far as your question, how the patriarchy hurts male teachers. Are you saying they make less?
No, I'm saying that because of the patriarchy, which, you were saying women need to stay at home, or women should stay at home with children. Historically, teaching was a secondary income. You married your husband, the accountant, the lawyer. You were only there when you weren't having babies. And yes, the pay has increased a lot. And I can't argue whether or not teachers deserve more money than we get. I have opinions about that, but men too get paid not very much for teaching. Whether they get more or less from women, teacher pay is a problem, and men are also victims of this. Can you argue
I'm
that
shocked
this
you're a
is
debate
not the
coach
case?
because that does not follow. If both men and women aren't making much as teachers, how does that make men a special victim of the patriarchy?
And I'm not saying that. You're actually generalizing right now.
Okay. Maybe you can
men are-
clarify your point.
Okay.
How specifically is the patriarchy hurting male teachers?
Because they don't get paid a lot. And historically, that's happened
due to markets and demand. So, I mean,
explain that, please.
How would both male and female teachers not getting paid much just because it was historically a woman's job be specifically the patriarchy oppressing men? They don't have to be teachers. In fact, the vast majority of school teachers are still women.
Yes.
Yeah. So how is this hurting men? I don't
Because
think
men do it too.
so.
So
how does that follow that this is oppressive to men? That's what I'm not getting.
I never said it was. I said it hurts the teaching profession,
Oh.
which men also participate in.
The teaching profession is not
That's right.
highly paid because you don't have to be very smart or very skilled, and there's much more in demand things. So this is market economics. It's not oppression of, the patriarchy that teachers don't get paid enough. By the way, homeschool, because this is public education. This is a public teacher.
So I don't know when Hagrid decided to
Oof.
become a debate teacher. Or maybe this is Hagrid's daughter. I'm not sure. But yeah, what did you like? I don't know if I even follow.
It
what
wasn't
she
even
was
like it
trying
wasn't
to
even like a
argue.
coherent yeah, it wasn't really a coherent argument. It was kind of all over the place.
Yeah, it was so she was kind of like, if you could do your best to try and figure out what her argument was. Basically, like, she was saying that men don't get teachers in general don't get paid a lot, and there's still exists a gender pay gap within teachers. I wonder what exactly the teachers, like, what the pay gap would be, because I guess what a teacher's salary, teachers don't do overtime, right?
No, it's salary, and they're in unions. That's when you have teacher strikes, right?
Yeah. So I guess it wouldn't be due to like overtime, right? Which is one popular argument against feminism, against the gender wage gap. They would have to assume that Rachel thought that getting paid less equals oppression, but she doesn't think that in the first place.
I mean, ultimately,
Yeah.
teachers, what, they get like 2-3 months off too here in America,
Yeah,
like summer
and
vacation. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's why they don't get a reason why they don't get paid that much. But some teachers make like over six figures. So depending on where you are, like in Boston, public school teachers, at most of them probably make $100,000 a year.
Yep. Well, it has to do with
Granted,
budget too.
yeah, but I'm not sure. Like, maybe it's because men don't get pregnant, right? So when you hire a man, you're hiring someone who is less likely to have to take maternity leave, paternity leave, right?
Yep.
But also, like, men are more willing in general to work harder. Men are more willing in general to sacrifice family, to sacrifice time in order to get ahead. So there's a lot more reasons why an employer would look at a man versus a woman and want to hire a man, or want to offer a man more money to keep them.
Yeah.
But I would want to go into the statistics and see the exact argument. Either way, being a debate teacher and a speech coach, that was an awful performance.
Not a very good look for her, considering that she was like out of breath and like super anxious, like when put on the stage, and was like stumbling over her words. It's like, that's not really someone I'd want to hire.
And then you would
go to her as
think, yeah. And then you would think that the first picture frame, if you guys weren't here, just rewind it a little bit, was unflattering. But I mean, look at this freeze frame. It's not good optics, man. That's right off the bat. Frank, by the way, who was with me and at Nashville when the first clip happened, told her, Amanda, apparently, that he thinks substitute teachers should also get paid less or something like that, right to her. We were laughing about that last stream. All right, so this is what culminated from that moment that we just watched, was Amanda versus Rachel Wilson, an actual debate. And I watched a little bit of this, like the first 30 minutes, but Schoolboy hasn't seen it yet, and I haven't seen the rest of it, so this will be fun. We're now on the Watch Together link, Schoolboy, so you can pause it whenever you want as well, and we'll get right into it. Do you think we should go through the opening statements? Amanda does a full-on opening statement. Rachel Wilson's opening statement, she just kind of starts asking questions and they get right into like an open dialogue. So maybe going through it all.
Yeah, I think we should just watch the opening statements, let those kind of play out. We can pause it before they get into the dialogue, and maybe just kind of discuss that. Then again, like, I don't know how it's going to play out. I haven't watched it at all, so. We can kind of wing it.
Floor
Cool.
is all yours.
All right. Hello. Thank you, James. I am Amanda Norman.
Man, what is
I
that
will
noise?
share my screen. And
Hear that background
did anything
noise?
happen? Looks like it did. Okay. So
No, I don't.
I'm Amanda Norman. I am a middle school teacher outside of Dallas. I am a theater, speech, and debate coach, and I have a bachelor's and a master's degree,
There, it's
bachelor's
going.
degree in creative writing, master's degree in education. And my assertion here is that feminism is not only better for society.
I forgot to mention, by the way, thank you so much for being here, all 75 of you over on YouTube. If you want to watch a horizontal version, you can go to kick.com/Alexander Medeiros. Same name as on YouTube, AlexxAnderMedeiros. And you can watch the horizontal version on Kick. Thank you.
It is wickedly better for society. So feminism, rather than treating feminism as a slogan or an insult, I'm going to approach it as an
So it's not just a New England thing. She's doing it because of the show Wicked. Oh my goodness.
Is she from New England?
I don't think so, but I think she just loves the movie Wicked so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she looks
Zane is me.
like she might be into all that occult stuff.
She's been waiting to use this presentation since Halloween.
idea grounded in history, law, economics, and social science. My argument today is very simple. Feminism, defined correctly, is not only good for women, but better for society as a whole. So what feminism actually is, we have to define our terms here before we begin, or else we're not even going to be talking about the same thing, and we're going to spend the whole debate talking past each other, and it's not going to be a debate. So when I say feminism, this is what I mean. It is the belief in equal rights, opportunities, and dignity regardless of gender or sex.
How much you want to bet? Do you think she bites the bullet or doesn't bite the bullet on the draft question for women?
Bites the bullet, probably.
All right. I think she might. Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna bet against you just to make it interesting. I don't think she's gonna bite the bullet.
Fair enough.
So
she's
for the
biting
purpose
something.
of this debate, I will refer to gender and sex
Either way, she's
interchangeably.
biting something.
This means equal access to education, employment, legal protection, and political participation. Feminism does not argue that men and women are identical in every respect. Instead, it asserts that difference should never justify inequality. Cognitive, social, and economic equality are the foundations of feminism. What it is not. Feminism is not anti-man. It does not claim that men are inherently oppressive or morally inferior. A lot of people do believe that that is true. That is not. A person who believes that is not a feminist. They are a misandrist, which is the opposite of a misogynist. So there is a word for that. Feminist.
Which I just have to point this out because I heard this earlier. No, a misandrist is not the opposite of a misogynist. It's actually pretty parallel to it. It's just about different gender. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Acknowledge physical differences while rejecting the idea that those differences determine intelligence, leadership, or moral worth. Feminism, above all, and this is important, critiques systems. It does not critique people. It is systemic institutions, laws,
bright
and
green
traditions. So biological differences versus equality. There are real biological differences between the sexes, particularly in physical strength and reproductive roles. I've heard this a lot, so I'm going to talk about it. However, decades of research, which I have cited, in psychology and neuroscience show no meaningful difference in general intelligent or problem-solving ability between the sexes. Janet Hyde's gender similarities hypothesis demonstrates that men and women are far more alike than different in cognitive functioning. Emotional differences, too, are largely shaped by culture, such as teaching boys to suppress their emotion and girls to express it. All right, now we have to look at the historical context before I get into my little prefabricated thing here. I want to talk about this image you are looking at. Before the whole retail war garbage, Black Friday referred to
I'm glad she admitted that it's fabricated.
referred to a Friday in November 18th, I believe, 1919, when women were basically mobbed, arrested, raped within an inch of their life for showing up at the polls in New York City trying to vote. And here we have an image of that on the front page of the newspaper. So historically, women were excluded from public life. We lacked voting rights, property ownership, education, and legal protection. These exclusions were not based on evidence of inferiority, but solely on tradition and power. Understanding this context, this is why feminism emerged. It is not an attack on men, but as a response to systemic injustice. So political inequity. So this, I like to call this image on the right, the mother of all memes. So it is kind of hard to read, but what it basically says is it doesn't unsex her to do this. And then it shows a woman cleaning the floors. This one's covered up. Let me see what that one is again. So a nurse coming out of the factory. I think she's folding laundry over there. She's waiting tables. But this casting a ballot is for some reason another story. Political inequality is one of the clearest examples, especially in the United States. Women gave the right to vote only in 1920. But a lot of people don't know is that we were actually kind of forerunners for this. In the UK, full voting equality didn't happen until 1928. And Switzerland did not allow women to vote federally until 1971. These dates reveal how recently women were excluded from democracy itself. 1971, my mom was 11 years old. So that's how recent it was. All right, legal inequality. So this is a real ad from a real Thai company that says, show her it's a man's world. It has a woman kneeling before her husband in bed who for some reason is dressed in a tie, eating breakfast in bed. So I love that picture. It makes me laugh. So under English common law, which our law is based on, married women had no separate legal identity. This doctrine is known as coverture, and it meant women could not sign contracts, own property, or control wages. William Blackstone explicitly described women as legally subsumed by their husbands. Feminism challenged these laws and demanded legal personhood. Economic inequality. Economic inequality followed legal inequality. Women were barred from professions such as law and medicine and denied higher education for hundreds of years. Even in the 20th century, US women could not obtain credit cards without a male cosigner until 1974. This economic dependence trapped many women in abusive marriages or exploitative situations, including but not limited to human trafficking. Violence and safety, good segue. So on this image, you can see the countries. Rachel, I'm sure this will stick out to you. The ones that are red have a certain something in common. But these are the countries where marital rape is.
You know what she's implying?
What?
Or is she implying that is she implying it's Muslim? Yeah, those are Muslim countries, right? Yeah.
Criminalized versus marital rape is not. So violence and safety. Violence against women was often legally ignored. Marital rape was legal in many countries well late into the 20th century. In the US, the final state criminalized it in 1993. I was a year old. Domestic violence was treated as a private family matter rather than a crime, so it was not often reported.
She's the same age as me.
Wait, what did she just say? She just say that?
She said she was a year old in 1993. We were born the same year.
Wow.
Eek.
Rough.
Not often reported. Feminism brought these issues into public and legal consciousness. So how women overcame the inequality. This here is just a little chart explaining the different titles we're going to talk about. They get confusing. But women organized to challenge inequality, and we saw the result of that in a further slide often. The suffrage movement, access to higher education and legal reforms like Title VII, Title IX, and the Violence Against Women Act dramatically reshaped society. These reforms did not grant women special privileges. They granted equal protection under law. So we've talked a lot about women. Now let's talk about men. Feminism benefits society as a whole, including men. When women participate fully in society, everyone in the society benefits. Countries with higher gender equality experience stronger economic growth. Forcing the women into the workplace was good for the economy. Better public health outcomes and more stable families. Educated women are more likely to educate their children, reducing poverty across generations. Specifically, let's talk about men. Men also benefit from feminism. Feminism challenges rigid gender norms that pressure men to suppress their emotion, avoid caregiving, and define worth solely through income and brute strength. Shared parenting improves child development and relationship satisfaction. Feminism allows men to be whole people, not just stereotypical breadwinners caring for the trophy wives. So, misunderstandings of anti-feminists. I do not really like to speak for other people, but things I have noticed amongst people who declare themselves to be anti-feminists are reacting to misinformation. Feminism is often portrayed as man-hating or extreme, which we have established is actually misandry, not feminism, when in reality, it advocates for fairness, evidence-based policy, and human dignity. Rejecting feminism often means unknowingly rejecting equal opportunity itself. So let's go ahead and look at some global inequality. Globally, inequality persists. Women face higher poverty rates, often because of men impregnating women and just running away. That is a factor. Limited education access in certain countries, those ones that were highlighted in red earlier, yeah, in those countries. And gender-based violence worldwide, again, mostly in those red countries. Feminism remains necessary, not because women want more than men, but because equality has not yet been achieved globally. So here's our core question. The core question is this: should gender limit dignity and opportunity? If your answer is no, then you support the foundational principle of feminism, regardless of whether you embrace the label. So let's conclude. Feminism is equality. It was historically necessary, remains globally relevant.
We're gonna do a bet on something, and if one of us loses, we have to buy that shirt.
Benefits all of society. It's not radical, it's reasonable. A society that values fairness, evidence, and human dignity must support feminism as it supports equality. And in fact, I think if we changed this entire debate to whether equality is better or worse than for society, there would be no debate. So here are my sources. Yeah, so there you go. You can look into those. But I wanted to avoid bare assertions, so I decided to do a slide that cites. So I will stop share. And with that, I yield my time.
Thank you very much for that opening. And folks, if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, I'm your host, Dr. James Coons. We are a fully neutral platform hosting debates on science, religion, and politics. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button as we have many more upcoming debates. With that, we're going to kick it over to Rachel's opening. Thank you very much for being with us, Rachel. The floor is all yours.
Thanks, James. It's good to be back.
I'm guessing this this person probably came in during the presentation and then got the big reveal. It's like, whoa, I did not expect that. James, fix your mic, dude. You hear the noise? That was James the whole time.
Why is Carl Weezer arguing for feminism?
Shout out Jimmy Neutron. Where's his inhaler? He's gonna pull the inhaler out after that presentation.
Back on Modern Day Debate. So I do appreciate Amanda coming with a well thought out presentation, and she clearly has actually stopped to think about these things, which is more than I can say for a lot of my opponents on this subject usually. So I do appreciate that. However, everything that was in those slides are things I have seen and heard before. They are the very things that made me feel like I needed to write a book and several other pieces in order to kind of refute, because feminism, the whole idea behind feminism, relies on framing. I say this all the time because they'll say things like fairness, equality, opportunity, dignity. However, these are things that are core tenets of liberalism as a whole. The revolutionary ethos of the French and American revolutions was liberty, equality, fraternity, right? So feminism came as a political movement from this, with Mary Wollstonecraft and her vindication of the rights of women, talking about this very thing. It was basically everything Amanda just said, which is, you need to be fair and give us equality. But when we dig into what that means, it relies on a bunch of presuppositions that I do not accept. For instance, you said that feminism does not deny biology. How do you feel about the transgender movement? Do you support that in general, or are you against that? Or in other words, are you a trans exclusionary feminist, or are you a trans inclusive feminist?
Are you asking?
Yeah, is it okay if I
Okay.
ask questions in my opening, James? Or
I'm
would you
cool with
rather-
that. If you want, that's works for me.
Yeah.
As far as the trans question, I'm very conflicted about that. We can look at historical context and see third and fourth, however many genders all throughout society. I feel like I'm just going to go ahead and say I do not support gender affirming care for minors. I'm an educator, so protecting children is very important to me. Trans women competing against biological women in sports is an absolute no for me. But at the end of the day, I kind of feel like if an adult biological male wants to live his life as a female and can pass that way, whatever fits. But I do feel like the way the trans movement is working, it's actually working against them, because I do see a lot of trans people saying, we want fairness, we want equality, we want you to listen to us, but they don't seem to understand the opposition and present it in a way the opposition will actually engage in.
Yeah,
So
right.
I have some serious criticisms of the trans movement as far as trans people and gender in general. I'm not trans. I'm a straight woman, so it's not something I concern myself with on the daily.
Okay. Do you feel that homosexual individuals are born that way, or do you think it's conditioning or a lifestyle choice?
I do believe they are born that way. I'm what's called a determinist, meaning I believe free will is an illusion.
Okay.
Ooh, that's gonna come back to bite her.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know if you've seen Milo talking about it recently. I couldn't get through the whole interview. His mannerisms really bother me.
He's
Just,
still
like,
gay.
the way
Dude.
that he. Yeah, but at least he's like fighting those passions, but he's obviously like struggling. You know what I mean, in his own way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like he
I don't
was
know how I
talking about
feel
how it's like
completely about
it's a
Milo.
trauma response. I have a hard time watching him just because of like he's like really fidgety and kind of, I don't know, something's off. Like I said, he's
What was he
clearly
talking about?
struggling. I think it was with Pierce, or no, who was it with?
He did go on Pierce
I watched.
recently just by himself.
Yeah, I think it was with
I had a
Pierce,
one-on-one with
and
Pierce.
but
Yeah.
but he was talking about essentially how like homosexuality is a trauma response.
Oh yeah, and what did he say? It's because people hate their mothers. Isn't that the
That's
Jesse Lee
part.
Peterson thing?
That could be part of it.
Oh,
But
it was
like
with
also
Tucker?
when
He did do a
it was with
podcast
it was
with
with
Tucker
Tucker.
as
It was
well.
with Tucker. It was Tucker. That's right.
Okay.
It was the one with Tucker. But yeah, it could be due to abuse early in life, and it's really strange. Like as human beings, we're really, really weird, and the parasympathetic nervous system can have these like adverse reactions to trauma like that, where it's essentially and this is how I felt about it for a while. It's a response where, in a sense, the individual is trying to take back control of what hurt them. So they return to it in a way that they are in control of it. They return to that type of trauma. Does that make
I would
sense?
agree. Yeah, and I know people who connect the dots themselves in that aspect who are homosexual. So I get that. Now, as far as being a determinist, if you're a determinist and our beliefs are determined and are in no way our responsibility, meaning we're not responsible for them because they were determined for us, then what if we were just determined to be misogynists? What if we were just determined as men to oppress women? What would actually be wrong with that? Like, And why
And
would you expect us to change if we can't?
debate itself it becomes a performative contradiction
Yeah,
because it's just input output, but you're just a meat machine.
absolutely. Oh, this isn't live. No, we're live, dog.
We are. The debate itself isn't. The debate that
Okay.
we're reviewing. Yeah.
Fair enough. I'll take it back. What is that dude holding a Zin or a marshmallow?
Based either way.
Okay, great. Because in your opening, one of the slides was talking about basically a reference to blank slate theory. You said that women only choose certain things and men only act certain ways because we condition them to do so. It's societal conditioning that makes men act like men and makes women act like women. Yet, when we talk about homosexuality, that they're just born that way. So clearly you don't actually believe in blank slate theory, or do you? Like, which is it? Are you determinist that if you're born a woman, you're going to act like a woman and be like a woman, and that there's something essential biologically about femaleness? Or is that a costume that I can put on if I truly feel that on the inside I'm a man? Or I'm a woman. I was born male, but I feel like I'm a woman on the inside.
Again, this is something that is incredibly complex. And when I say society, when I say society, I didn't use the word conditioned, but I'm talking about societal norms, people wanting to fit in, people having that shame instilled in them that, these 11, 12-year-old boys I teach, it's not okay to cry. You go to the bathroom and cry. You don't want to cry in front of your friends. You want to look tough. That's societally ingrained in them. Whereas, maybe their instinct is to be more emotional and seek help.
That kind of dances around my question, because you can't.
Even so, why is it a good thing for men, especially boys, learning to be men, to cry in public and show that display of emotion?
Right.
I can think of very, very few reasons when it would be weird for someone not to be emotional in that situation.
I mean, there's much healthier
very
ways
few.
to cope with those and process those emotions too than just like a purely emotive expression, right? Like to be
Yeah.
able to understand it and to be able to vocalize it. That's way healthier.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if it's like, all right, what if your first instinct when you get an answer wrong on your test is to cry? Is that healthy, or should it be shameful to do so?
Yep.
Right? It should be a shameful thing. All right, one, I have to address this. A couple people come in here because they're scrolling through the shorts. If you don't care, leave, retard. Or I could just do it for you too. Have a good night. And then this is hilarious because people are debating about what kind of homosexuals there are. And this dude says some people only gay on Wednesday. I don't know why that's so funny.
That is. Man Day
And,
Mondays.
Man Day Mondays. Weird. There was another one. Oh yeah, this is how stupid people are. How about we all get our own lives and stop worrying about others? Why are you worrying about others right now? Why are you worrying about what we're doing? Go follow your own advice and leave.
I mean, realistically, we should care about others.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
from our paradigm, like truly, like we're supposed to love others and care about their
Exactly.
well-being and care about their salvation.
Amen.
Can't really have it both ways. You can't say homosexuals are born that way. I'm a biological determinist. I don't believe in free will.
I
but
didn't
then
say,
also say,
well,
yeah,
go
you
ahead.
did. And then say at the same time that boys would cry in front of everyone and they wouldn't act like boys, and except that we condition them to be that maleness or manliness wouldn't exist except for social conditioning. Because
I didn't say that. I said
Okay.
that there's shame from society, certain societies, the one I live in kind of suburban Texas. Yeah, it emphasizes manliness, whether
Sure.
that
Well,
person
here's
truly
something
is
we might be
manly or
able
not.
to we might be able to find common ground here. So when I'm sure you've probably heard trans activists say that we can tell that transgenderism has a biological root to it, that it's, you know, something you're born this way, because when we do brain scans, we can see differences, right? If we look at a trans man's brain scan, it looks more like a woman's
Say that 5 times
brain.
fast.
You know, the male to female transgender people, their brain scans, when we do them, look more female. Do you think that that science is probably valid?
I haven't looked into it. I don't talk about trans stuff a lot. I don't have very strong feelings about that.
Okay. Well, if we're going to talk about, you know, feminism, I feel like you probably should look into that, because if we're going to be granting rights based on gender, then you believe in gender, and I don't believe in gender. I only believe in biological sex. So
I said in my opening that I was going to use them interchangeably. So I didn't say that. I'm going to use them interchangeably. They're the same thing for the purposes of this debate.
okay, well, that, I mean, this is very inconsistent. You're kind of trying to wiggle out of it, and I see why you are. Because if transgender brain scans are real, then also, I mean, you said there's no differences really biologically and cognitively between male brains and female brains. And it was actually an argument of first wave feminists that there aren't any differences between male and female brains. Yet the people who argue that a man can be born in the wrong body or a woman can be born in the wrong body are using brain scans as evidence that, yes, you can be born in the wrong body because their brain scans are different. So you might have to take that up with the transgender movement and figure out where you fall there, because you can't really say we're going to grant rights based on gender and then say, I don't really believe in gender. I'm a biological.
No, I said we're not going to limit rights based on gender. Well, I actually didn't say that at all. We've jumped around from feminism to trans, and we went to homosexuality. Now we're back on trans.
Well, that's because from your view, if you're a biological determinist and you don't believe in free will, then how can the behaviors of men and women be based on social conditioning? How can we condition biological determinism out of people and socially condition their will if free will doesn't exist? I'm trying to gauge your worldview
when I say free will doesn't exist, I mean it's an illusion. Meaning that maybe we're not, I mean, it's okay. So let me ask you something.
That's
so
why it was
this
like timed
may
up with me
seem
switching the view.
a little bit isolated, but if P entails Q and Q is determined, is P determined?
Yeah.
If that were the case, you could say that, but I don't believe in biological determinism whatsoever. So I'm not sure. You're saying if Q was an entailment of P and Q is biologically determined, that P would also have to be biologically determined?
Yeah, if Q is inside of P, yes.
Let's grant that. What would that mean for our argument here?
Okay.
She has no idea. She has no clue
what
what that means for her argument, actually. What was that? This is literally the moment she had a debate con all
Hold
over
on,
again.
look at the comment that Light Free made.
This one? Oh man,
Yeah,
duh.
it's so stupid. It's so funny though.
That's why I questioned. I was like, this one? Oh damn, that's rude. That's just mean. Looks like it's true, but it's mean. Looks like an eggplant with a perm. She looks like, you know, she looks like
Not an eggplant parm, it's an eggplant perm.
She looks like a SpongeBob school driving school teacher.
Miss Puff.
Miss Puff, yeah. Gosh, I feel bad for this chick. Not that bad, but
arguing that feminism is better for society. I'm not arguing about trans or anything.
Sure.
I've made it very clear I'm not going to talk about that because it has nothing to do. I didn't prep for it. That's not what this debate is about. So can we please just get back onto feminism?
Sure. Then if we want to talk about feminism, let's talk about the fact that when you brought up the map of women's rights and you pointed out to me, Rachel, look at the red areas. I'm sure that you're noticing something about the red areas. And I did. The red areas are not Christian and they don't have a lot of technology. And if they do, they're more Muslim or more, Islam is not a system that I defend. It's a system I argue against. So I would argue that when you ended your slides there saying, you know, the problem is that on a global scale, we haven't reached equality yet. You're talking about benefits to society that you think came from feminism, when mostly those benefits came from technology. So when you're talking about things like my GDP, my productivity, my first world living conditions, those are a result of the technological revolution, not of social engineering.
Well, with that comes social engineering. With technology advancing comes new knowledge and new ways to view the world.
Well, no, what
I mean,
it
50
does,
years ago, okay,
that's not true. What it does, what the Industrial Revolution and the technological revolution did was create an illusion that men and women can be equal. There's a reason feminism did not come about until the Industrial Revolution, because there were not, if you watch, I know you were there, so if you saw my debate with Craig and he's talking about, well, we have tools now, we have tools, so women can do all the man stuff because there's tools. It's like, yeah, buddy, that's exactly my point. Prior to technology and the Industrial Revolution, there was no such concept that women and men were equal, could do the same things, should do the same things. There was no desire for that. And if you want to argue that society is better with feminism, show me a benefit of feminism to society that is not reliant on technology, that isn't just a product of better technology.
I would say they go hand in hand.
Yeah, and we have better educational outcomes, but that's not due to feminism. That's due to technology. There's more people.
Feminism arose because of the technology and the new worldview it provided.
It wasn't the worldview that did the improving of people's lives. It was the technology. Technology increases education. Technology increases medical care. It reduces infant mortality. It reduces maternal mortality. There's one really good example where I can prove this. In the United States, we have rising maternal mortality for the first time since we discovered germ theory. Do you know why that is?
I looked into it, but can't remember, honestly. I think it had something to do with, like, I don't know.
It's
older women. It's older women having babies. That's what it was.
It's due to advanced maternal age. So when we discovered germ theory because of technology, we were able to.
Well, it was actually because of a lazy scientist, but yeah.
Sure. But it wasn't just the theory, it was developing technology that could reduce infections, that could help in hospital situations, developing antibiotics and things like that that can fight infection, things that we can do prenatal care, prenatal screening. The technology helped reduce infant mortality and maternal mortality. And because we told women to spend all their fertile years in college and building a career, and they're waiting until their 30s and 40s to try to have babies, the risk of complications is way up and maternal mortality is rising in industrialized nations for the first time ever. So that's a good explanation. It's kind of a good picture of how technology improved things, not feminism, but feminism is actually taking us backwards by going against biology. You said it's not anti-biology, but I think that the precipitously dropping birth rates, which we talk about all the time, it's out there now. People talk about it all the time. This is a very, very serious problem. And I'm wondering if you are a pro-choice advocate. Are you in favor of abortion rights?
Yes. And I would also, to go back to your maternal death feminism thing, a lot of older women who have babies have already had babies in their youth. And having more than one baby, especially after a C-section, makes pregnancy complicated. So
it's actually the opposite. So that's
no, it's not. If you have a C-section and then you have a vaginal birth, you have a scar on your uterus and it could rupture.
That's actually also a myth. So let me correct a couple of things there, because this is something I've done a lot of research on as well.
Right there in that moment when she moves her eyes, right? She kind of like rolls her eyes back. You can tell that she actually realized, you're right. I haven't looked this up. I've just heard it said so many times and I believed it, but I actually haven't confirmed it for myself. So I don't know if you're right or not. That's exactly what she's thinking in her head right there. And I actually just learned this too, because it is a common myth that once you have a C-section, like my stepmom, she's always had C-section. She's a small woman. She had to have a C-section due to some complications for her first birth. And they always told her you could never go back to a vaginal birth. And then I was actually in Zen server and someone there had they call it a VBAC, right? Vaginal birth after cesarean. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know that. It was just what is it, bad science, I guess. I don't know why that was a myth, but you totally can have vaginal births after cesarean.
Yep.
I've had 5 kids myself. It used to be believed that C-sections increased risk for a VBAC after the C-section. They're now doing a ton of studies and have come up with a lot of things that contraindicate that. There are tons of women that go on to have healthy vaginal births after, but you always have the option to do a C-section. However, it's not me that says this. The CDC, I'm sure you follow the science. I'm sure you believe the CDC. The CDC says it is not multiple births. Women had far more children. They had far more babies, far more pregnancies 30, 50, 100 years ago than they do now. It is
and they often died in childbirth
at a
way more than they are now.
Only due to infection. It is a complete and total lie and a complete and total myth
And hemorrhaging.
perpetrated by Margaret Sanger that multiple births is the thing that's the risk. It's not the thing that's obviously anything.
Childbirth is the risk.
Well,
so
there's
if
always
you go
risks
through
to
that more than one
childbirth,
time,
but that's not what we're talking about. Is the fact that we cured most of that. We got rid of most of the risk of childbirth through technology, and it is feminism telling women, hey, you can wait until you're 45 to have a baby, and then they do that, and it usually is a first birth for them, by the way. So women who've had a birth in their 20s, and like I did, you have a couple in your 20s, a couple in your 30s, and you have one more in your 40s, the risk is very low. It's first births at an older age that are the highest risk. And it's not that people are having multiple babies. That's not why they're dying. They were having multiple babies. They were having more babies 30 years ago. They're dying at a higher rate now. So you've got it backwards. You understand that?
I don't think you're talking about the same thing I am. I was saying you can't blanket attribute high maternal mortality to this one issue.
That's telling you that the CDC,
the reason.
I can give you
give me evidence.
The CDC says, it's in chapter 10 of my book, which you said is right there in Kindle. It should have a link if you've got the Kindle version. The CDC says that it is rising. It doesn't, I'm not saying it explains all maternal deaths, of course. I'm saying that for the first time in decades, since we've had the technology to mitigate most risks in childbirth, for the first time in decades, maternal mortality in the United States is rising. It's increasing. And that the reason for that, the number one reason, and pretty much the only reason, is due to advanced maternal age. Women are having babies older in larger numbers than they've ever had. And for most of those women, it is a first birth. The average woman's only having 1 or 2. So it's not that the women who've had 6 and are now having their 6th baby at 40, they're usually doing pretty well. It's when you have your first birth late in life that you're at the highest risk. And this is the reason that the mortality rate is rising. I'm not saying it's explanatory of every maternal death, of course not. There's other things that can go wrong, but those things have maintained pretty static throughout time. This is the one factor that has changed, and it's because of feminism. So we're supposed to be debating if feminism is better for society, and I asked you to give me some examples of things you think it has improved for society, and we're going to see if
you asked me to give an example of anything that has something to do with technology or feminism has anything that doesn't rely on technology, and I said no, because you can't.
So all of the things
feminism itself thought itself could be seen as a technology in a way. Things evolve, and the reason when I pointed to those countries, you say they're not Christian. We can go there, but that's fine. What the main issue there is that in those Islamic countries, Islam is a much younger religion than Christianity. It's 1,400 years old. Yeah, okay, but listen, Rachel, 500 years ago was 1525. Okay, that was the birth of the Protestant Reformation. They were burning heretics at
the Reformation. What was that? By the way, if you're liking the stream, go ahead and hit that like button. We only got 18 likes, 85 people watching. I'd appreciate that. Share it with somebody who might find it interesting. Also, if you're on Kick, it says 2 people are over there watching. Sound off, so I know you're not bots. And I have to bring up this comment. Uterine seppuku before forced gestation.
Yeah.
Seppuku is like what, the samurai thing, falling on your
Yeah.
own sword. Yeah, which
Yeah.
doesn't even make sense in this context at all. But all these people can do. Come on the stream on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday when we have debate streams, and you can get absolutely cooked. Like, these people just spurg out in the chat. Forced gestation. Yes, when you lay down and you open your legs for 3 dudes a week, and then you get pregnant, that's forced gestation. That makes sense. That's where most abortions come from, by the way.
Form of birth control, which is insane.
Yeah. Shared what, Frank? I missed your comment.
Probably the stream.
Oh, I'm just retarded. Thank you, Frank.
The stake. I don't think, I mean, you're Orthodox. I know you have feelings about Protestants and heretics. Would you shave their head and burn them?
Wait a
They
second.
still do that.
Wait a
And
second. Wait a second. We have to go back. You said Islam started when?
like 1400 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
In
So-
around the 5th, 4th, 5th century, or 5th or 6th century. Yeah. And then you
Yeah.
jump to the Protestant Revolution, which was in the 1500s, 500 years ago.
Yes. And you're
What-
saying the difference between Christianity and Islam's age is 500 years about.
So, yeah.
So I'm saying the reason Christianity is more reasonable is because it's older. It has had more time to evolve and
What?
adapt to the technology,
You should go.
including
You should go to my
feminism.
Substack and read a piece that I presented at a theological seminary on how Christianity is what gave women dignity and made them human versus paganism. Because
No, I read
Does that even make sense? Christianity is more progressive in her eyes because it's older?
That makes absolutely zero sense. mean,
Yeah, aren't the
ultimately, like-
older
Because what does it mean to be a conservative? Like you're conserving something, right? You're holding
Yeah.
to a tradition. You're building off of something that's been there before, and holding fast to those traditions. Like, I don't know. That was
So you would-
absolute slop.
Yeah, because you would expect I mean, even this isn't a good argument, but the logic would make more sense by saying the newer a religion is, the more progressive the religion is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it would innovate. It would change what was. I mean, I know you know that
It wouldn't have.
Go ahead.
Well, no, honestly, that's a great point. You're just going to bring up the Reformation.
Yep.
Yeah, the Reformation isn't old; it's new. That's why Protestantism is more progressive than the older traditions.
Christianity, well, I did a whole, like, it's an actual, you like this academic stuff, it's actually an academic cited work, which explains that it was Christianity that first gave women any notion of dignity, and not necessarily equality in the way that, the post-Enlightenment liberal folks would see it, but saw them as real human beings and not just temple prostitutes or breeding mares or things like that. It made them human. Islam is completely different, and it's not that Islam is younger, it's only 500 years younger, and Christianity up until 100, 200 years ago was not liberal whatsoever. There wasn't liberal Christianity until the Enlightenment revolutionary period.
that's
when
why I
the
brought up the
Protestant-
age, though, to show
Yeah.
you that is a big difference. That's a
So you
lot
think
of time.
so you
for
think in
things to
400
change.
years that Muslims will be where we're at?
I don't know.
So then what's the point of this line of inquiry? I'd still like to hear where feminism has improved society in any way that isn't directly attributable to the technology and not
I
the
told you
social
I can't
engineering.
give you that.
Okay.
I told you they
well,
go hand in hand.
Yeah. So what does that tell you? What does it tell you if women can't be equal with men without the technology? If we had an EMP or a cyber attack tomorrow and the grid went down, there's no electricity anymore, there's no water running, there's no electricity, are you still a feminist?
Yeah.
Really?
Ideologically, yes. I'm
Okay,
not denying
You're not
that
going to
I
go
can't
running
be-
to the first man that can keep you alive and say, you know what, whatever you say, sir, I'll do whatever
No.
I'll do whatever you say. Oh, so you would just
No, I
die,
may
you would
partner up
die
with
out of
him.
ideological purity?
No, no.
Okay.
I would partner up with them and see if we could survive as a tribe, as a community, as
And what if they say,
whatever
look,
we have
Amanda,
nowadays without the tubes, without the tools.
what if the men say to you, look, Amanda, you don't know anything about plumbing. You don't know how to sterilize water. You can't build a barn. You
I
can't
can
help
build
us
a
get the-"
fire and boil it.
Yeah, and if they say to you, Amanda, just do what we say, we'll keep you alive. If not, you can go with the feminists and try to survive over there with them. Which one are you going to pick?
I might try to survive.
And you would die.
Possibly. But if an
Almost
EMT happens, a
certainly.
lot of people would die.
So what I'm telling you is that as a biological determinist, you just said that you don't deny biology, you don't deny
No.
reality, and you don't
But-
believe in free will. And what I'm telling you is women can't survive without men. So this idea that we're equal is just an illusion brought to you by technology. It's a
But
preference
Rachel,
you
no
have.
one's
It's a
arguing that.
preference- It's a preference you have that's propped up by the technology men have built and that they maintain on your behalf. And if men decide not to enforce women's rights tomorrow, you don't have any. So this is all
Because men are people and they have minds and they're not something to be seen as an object or just something to be argued against. They're a real person that you could actually just talk to. And
I agree.
yes,
So yeah, like that's pretty much the whole argument that Rachel's making about Christianity
Yeah.
really enforcing and bringing women up, picking them up and not giving them, they had dignity, but highlighting it and transforming the world of that time that held women as second-class citizens, that held them as lower.
Because they could. They held them there because
right,
they could.
And something that always comes up, like this idea of like subservience, like in marriage, right? Like where a woman's supposed to obey her husband. That's not in a domination type sense, because in the same verse that St. Paul is writing about that, he also tells the husband to love your wife as Christ loves the church, and Christ died for the church.
Amen.
Like,
yeah, no,
yes. And women
yeah, that's a great point. And because they the men kept women in around the world in certain times, kept women subjugated, used them in all sorts of nefarious ways because they could. And it was Christianity that ultimately, like you said, brought them up from that place. And then you get women like Amanda who go ahead and they say, oh, well, they have all of these so-called rights and they have all of these privileges. And then they want to turn around and to the very people who gave them these things, say, F you, we don't need you. And actually, you were just oppressing us, even though they're the ones that gave her everything that she is touting as a feminist.
yeah.
Just a couple comments. Why would someone listen to a female anti-feminist? Well, that's like, can you talk about abortion? Should you have an opinion on it if you don't have a uterus, or can you? Or is it just whoever has an opinion that you don't like shouldn't be able to speak? It's probably that one.
I mean, does that person think that Rachel is like anti-woman? Because that's not the case. That's not the case. Like, you're by default, if you're anti-feminist, you're anti-women? Like, no.
Yeah, that's how these people think. Yes, the Reformation is new. Probably can't start a fire. But she's like, but I'll just use my lighter.
Sarah Moore had a funny comment in here. She said that, where is it? That Apple was liberal. I think she said something like that. Yeah. She said, yeah, Eve was conservative and Apple was liberal.
That's funny. I can't find it. I'd put it up here. No offense, but my opinion, I feel like women shouldn't be called weak and that they need men to survive. Wait, can you explain? Are you saying they shouldn't we shouldn't tell them they need men to survive? I mean, at the base of it, men and women need each other to survive in the sense to keep a population, right? Like without reproduction, we all die. But in the sense of
we need each other. Like a pure egalitarian like equality is not true, but the mutual dignity. There is like all human beings are made in the image of God. Like we need to uphold that dignity, and it's not putting them as lesser. And that's where it's a false. It's just a false narrative that being anti-feminist means that you're anti-women and think that women are lesser. That's not the case at all. It's saying that no, we're different. We have different roles in society. We have different roles in the household. Ultimately, I mean, I've even had this conversation with my mom, who is very much a girl boss, and to her own detriment, because when women are forced to take on those roles in society, be it in the workforce, in corporate structures, in management roles, be the breadwinner, biologically they do not handle the stress the same way, and they essentially have to force themselves to take on masculine traits in order to cope with it, and it's actually detrimental to their mental health and their spiritual well-being.
And to this point with that that you made about being anti-feminist is being anti-woman. Rachel's argument isn't men are better than women or more valuable than women because women need men to survive. She's just saying literally like in an EMP situation where in an apocalyptic situation, you literally need men to survive. And we lose sight of that in this age.
Yeah, we can say that women are weaker physically, right? That doesn't mean that they're like weak and completely helpless of their own. You know what I mean? But we need each other. Like women need men for those essential jobs, for the power grid, for everything like that. And ultimately society needs women. So like you brought up, so we can still have a population. There would be no society without that co-working between men and women.
And by the way, the feminists aren't saying this. They don't say men and women need each other. They literally say we don't need men. So the criticism needs to be pointed the other way.
Are the same, and that's what feminism argues for. It argues for this idea of personhood, which you say Christians were the first ones or something to give.
Yeah, we were, but that does not eliminate hierarchy. Would you agree? Would you agree that just because men are people and women are people, you can reason with women, you can reason with men, we both have minds, we're both, in my view, we're equal in the eyes of God. Does that mean there's no hierarchy to society, that socially there has to be equality rather than hierarchy?
Not equality in the term that we are all the same, doing the same thing, doing the same jobs. Equality in the sense that we are people. We have this individual personhood of our own, and that men respect that. That's really all that feminism is. And you talk about framing. I don't know if I've watched a few of your debates, the one with Craig, obviously, and that debate, I kind of felt like you were just talking past each other, because you use this word framing. Can you define what you mean by framing? If by framing, do you mean it's the way we are presenting things, or do you mean is it the way things are? Because you keep going on about tools, and I don't know if you're saying men framed this by building the tools, or you're framing feminism to mean a certain thing.
No, when I refer to framing, I'm saying you are relying on people's presuppositions. So we have to, in order for feminism to make sense, especially the way you presented it in your opening, we have to agree on certain preconceived notions, like that women were enslaved or they were oppressed prior to women's liberation.
Well, I don't think we have to agree on that. We have to agree on some things.
Well, what were we liberating them from? If they were, why would they need liberation if they weren't enslaved or oppressed?
The same reason the civil rights happened, because it wasn't, they were, I mean, yeah, I'll use the word oppressed, but that's not slavery. Like oppression is not slavery.
Okay,
so
but
when we talk about the right to vote, I'll use the right to vote for an example. It's not casting the ballot and putting in your vote for the representative. It's what that, I guess, represents. That's a lazy way to say it, but someone cares about my mind enough to take my opinion into account. That's what winning the right to vote meant. And I don't know if you've ever.
That's not how our representative democracy works, though. Like
Yeah.
it is a democratic republic. It's not a pure democracy. It's not one vote, one voice. You essentially gather and work collectively with other like-minded people. You may not share all the same ideas, but we prop up someone that we think are going to actualize our beliefs in the most, I don't know, like that represents the majority position, right?
Yeah, in a
And they will
sane way,
actually.
not ruled by just pure emotion of the masses.
Have I told you what my opinion of voting should be, like in our system, like how I would
Let me
reform
hear
it?
it.
Because someone did ask earlier, like if you and I like bite the bullet on like should women
Saw
not be
that,
able
yeah.
to vote? Yeah, I think women, like single women, should not be able to vote. I think most men shouldn't be able to vote. I think in order to actually have the right to vote, I think you should be a married household, and have children and have a vested interest in the future of the country.
Makes sense to me. What else did she just say? I was gonna bring something else up. I forgot.
And
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever read or seen A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. I am not saying that name right.
No.
Henrik Ibsen.
Yeah, so she was talking about how someone cares so much about me and my mind that they want to know my opinion. It's like, okay, so what's the opposite of that? You're saying then if someone doesn't do that, then they don't care about you and they think that you're not valuable as a person, or like they're oppressing you somehow. So then the same exact argument can be used against children. We think children are less than, they're not human, they're not people, right? That's what she would say. That would be the logical entailment of our argument. Felons, right, in this country, we would say, oh, they're just not people then, right? Like, no, there are some people that, and she would have to agree, that we don't want their opinion on the matter, actually, like a 6-year-old. No, we don't want the 6-year-old voting. And yes, a single woman who has 3 baby daddies and is on welfare. No, I'm sorry. We don't want your opinion. We don't want you running our country. Sorry.
A Doll's House. Okay, well, it's a really famous play. Nora from A Doll's House is like up there with Lady Macbeth as like the coveted pinnacle of female stage acting. And it's a really, really good example of a male writing a feminist work about a woman who's just unhappy in her marriage because her husband doesn't see her as a person.
Sorry, I have to. So the 16-year-old who knows everything says human beings with a vested interest in being alive who are at least 18 should vote. Why limit it then? Human beings with a vested interest in being alive. That's everybody. So why can't a 6-year-old vote based on that? Please tell me.
Yeah, it's just arbitrary.
I don't care that you're 28. I said, why 18? Oh, because I called you 16? Well, you look 16. And your argument is that of a 16-year-old. Yes, who is at least 18? Why? Why not under 18? Julian, I don't know what you're smoking, bro, but you're not
Yeah,
smoking it here. It's not working.
he's timed out.
Is he? Oh, okay.
Timed out for 300. Yeah.
Good. Because they go to school? What are you talking about? So if I'm 19 and I go to school, I can't vote? You shouldn't have told us you're 28. That makes it way worse, dude. Oh, wait, are you saying a 6-year-old should vote? I'm confused. They have an interest in making votes. Can you? All right, so why shouldn't a 6-year-old vote? That's the question. You're just gonna continue to spurg out? Yes, that's what we said.
Yeah, with children, not just married, with children.
Okay, so you're just not going to answer. You're just going to spurg out in chat. That's fine. Thank you for the engagement.
He's a doll for her to play with, and a lot of women did have that life. So what Nora does in a doll's house is, this was like 1838,
Literally
maybe, I
retarded.
don't know,
Can't even understand a question.
1878, maybe, sometime around there. But Nora's father was dying. Nora was like the apple of her father's eye. So her father was dying and he had a lot of money. Her husband was very ill, so she forged his signature and got money.
You gotta land the plane. You gotta land the plane because we're gonna bore the audience to death. So you're saying this poor
W, Rachel.
woman just was in bad circumstances because it was 1830 and she had no choice about it. Is that the gist of it?
Well, she tried to take it into her own hands and it backfired. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so
And-
let's just pretend we have a man and a woman, and it's the year 1830, and the woman is oppressed because men don't see her as a person. They just think of them as sex toys or birthing mares or something like that. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, basically. So I can be a little long-winded, but basically at the end of the play, she embodies this whole feminist notion of, I've lived my whole life being who other people want me to be. I don't even know who I am. Feminism gives women the right.
That's a whole bunch of bullshit garbage, and I'll tell you why. Do you think that I'll tell you why. A man in 1830, do you think a man in 1830 just got to be who he wanted to be? He just got to find himself. He got to follow his true north. He got to, have this romantic idea of who he wanted to be in life and everyone respected it? Or do you think it's more likely that a man in 1830...
That he was sent to be cannon fodder in war, put out on the farm? Yes, Rachel, women did the same thing.
Or sent to the mines. It's like,
sent to the put on the farm labor, didn't get anything but a 5th grade education.
This is what I mean by framing. What I mean by framing is we're always presented this picture of, but women weren't taken seriously and their feelings didn't matter, and then they didn't have agency and they weren't seen as people and their personhood. And what about finding herself? And I'm telling you that that's garbage and that's bullshit. And you sound like a theater kid. Were you a theater kid? Yeah, you're a theater kid. You like Wicked. You told me you like Wicked, and now you're talking about, you're a theater kid. So listen, that's not real life. In real life, people have to live and survive and eat and pay bills. And
Rachel, women paid that blood price in childbirth.
Men don't get this romantic, beautiful life where they get to be who they want to be and do what they want to do, and they sing a song about it. That's not how life works for anyone. That's not specific to women. And what feminism relies on is
framing. And feminism is saying that, Rachel.
Feminism relies on framing history as this situation where men, as a whole, oppressed women and treated them like playthings and treated them like objects and didn't allow them personhood and didn't allow them this and didn't allow them that. And this is all based on standpoint theory. You should read about standpoint theory, Sandra Harding, look it up. That's where all your worldview comes from. It's this framing that.
Well, considering I've never heard of that person, that's an interesting claim to make, Rachel. But
if you've studied feminism,
like saying, "Oh, you're a Christian, so you must follow Jesus." I never even heard of Jesus, bro. So good luck with that assumption.
Feminism, you should know this stuff. I probably am more well-read on feminism than you or any other feminist I've ever debated. That's why I'm here. I've done all the digging. I've done all the reading. I know their shit inside and out, and I know where this stuff comes from. And what I'm telling you is that...
And you're good at cherry picking it, too.
I'm not cherry picking it. You're cherry picking it because your argument relies on this concept that women as a whole were oppressed by men as a whole, when historically that's completely inaccurate.
They were oppressed by society, by the societal norms.
Who in society? Were the women of society oppressing women?
Alex,
or was it the men? Okay, how were the women of society?
Alex, you want to watch the side chat spurg out real quick?
Yeah. Which, by the way, before you
rights
say
don't
anything,
exist.
Oh, right. yeah. There you. What was that? I couldn't hear you. I was over talking to you.
Rights don't exist.
How could you say such a thing, dude? What are you, stupid? We have rights, dude. Didn't you ever hear of Martin Luther King?
How are the women of society oppressing each other?
The same way you do, Rachel, by going against feminism. And you talk about men going to work out on the farm, going to be cannon fodder, getting sent to the mines, paying the blood price. Women did that too. In
Check this dude's hard drive immediately.
What?
childbirth, in marriage, when we died in childbirth, when we went against everything we wanted to do in marriage to hold the family together after our husband in the Dust Bowl with a bum knee went out, died of a heart attack of pure exhaustion, then we got to take over and take care of the kids and send them again to go be cannon
So
fodder
wait a
in the
minute.
war.
So
It's
you just
all equal.
you just did the meme. The husband goes out with a bum knee into the Dust Bowl and dies. Women most affected. Okay, this is the framing I'm talking about. When all the
Got
men
'em.
die in
Good
World
job,
War One,
schoolboy.
when France loses, like, I don't know how many of their men, 60%,
million.
80% of
million.
their, yeah, well, percentage wise, they lost a huge
Yeah, it was a
percentage
large
of their male
percent.
population. You're the kind of person who would be like, but what about how the women felt about that? And I'm saying, what about the men that died in huge numbers? And you're like, yeah, but the women were sad. So actually it's the women. So do you see how this is framing?
But I didn't say, but
It means
actually the
that
women.
there's
That's the
hardships.
difference.
There are hardships to being a man. There are hardships to being
Yes.
a woman. They might be different hardships. So fucking what? Feminism relies on framing everything historically as a hardship for women, and this
No, it doesn't.
presumption. Yes, this presumption. So you brought up voting. First of all, nobody has a right to vote. That's bullshit. That's made up
Well,
stuff.
yeah,
It's a social contract.
I will grant you that, yes.
See, even Amanda agrees. She has to because she's watched a couple of Rachel Wilson debates. She knows what happens if she doesn't.
Yep.
Dude, you got me $5. W schoolboy.
Yo,
What's up, bro?
what's going on? What's the matter? Hope you're doing well, man.
Here it is. But you do have a constitutional right to vote. But Frank's trying to get this
rights don't
dude.
exist.
Frank's trying to get this dude in VC, by the way. I kind of want to pull that up if they do.
Dude, if he does, Frank, get him into Jim Bob's Discord.
Yeah, keep an eye out. We'll pull it up.
Send me a message. I have Discord pulled up, so
And men,
Yes.
I'll see
do you think
it.
all men could always vote?
Of course not, Rachel. I
Of
know
course
about the
not,
civil
of course
rights
not.
movement.
So why is it special
I
that
told
women
you.
not vote, or that women gain the vote when most men couldn't vote until maybe 10 years before women could?
Rachel, I told you what the vote represented already. And
Your
I'm
feelings. This all reduces
Your
for you
mind.
to like,
Your mind.
but how I feel about it. And what about, I'm sad because I feel like people don't take me seriously. It's like, well, men feel sad all the time. People feel sad all the
exactly.
time.
That's
But it's feminism doesn't fix that. Feminism doesn't fix it and it doesn't cure it. And let's go back to some other stuff.
no,
that
it
you
may,
brought up.
but it's better for society.
It's not better for society. For
Why?
example, why do you think it is that women couldn't own property or have their own like bank accounts and credit cards?
Because they couldn't assume the debt and therefore the debt fell on the husband.
Exactly. Do you think that that's unfair to women or unfair to men? Are you going to say it's unfair to both, so feminism solves it?
I'll say the last one you said.
Okay. So if that's the case, why do we now see if that's the case, why did we need affirmative action? We needed all this government top down pushing to push women into the workforce, to push men out of certain occupations. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with hiring quotas and saying, well, we've got too many male CEOs, so we got to stop hiring men and we can only consider women for these positions or the government will punish us? Is that fair or equal?
Well, that falls under what's called restorative justice, which is a conversation for another day. And I have also mixed feelings on affirmative action, but I know if I was born not a rich theater, drama, creative writing kid, I would probably think differently.
Well, I wasn't born rich or anything, and I'm glad that you got your degrees and your education. You have some impressive credentials, but I'm here with just a high school diploma and a cosmetology license. And I feel like I'm doing pretty well in this debate. So let's talk about some other things here. Let's talk about, what have I got in my notes here? Oh, what about what happened on January 6, 2021? Do you feel like that was an insurrection?
What does that have to do with feminism?
I'm just wondering if you think that the January 6th incident was an insurrection.
No response, because that has nothing to do with feminism.
Well, you brought up the 1919 women breaking into government buildings to vote and acting as though them being arrested or beaten because they were being violent was somehow like this horrible injustice, this terrible thing that happened. But I'm just going to take a stab in the dark and guess that you don't think January 6th was people fighting for their freedom, and you think that was an insurrection and those people belong in jail. But the women breaking into government buildings to do something illegal because they felt really strong about it, I'm sure that that was a tragedy.
Well, I think intent matters, but again, that's where I'm
Intent does
ending
matter.
this. I'm
Intent
ending
does
it. I'm
matter.
disengaging with this. I'm not going to talk about this.
So you're not going to engage with the trans stuff because it discredits everything you're talking about.
No,
you're not
because
going to engage with this
I didn't prepare for that, Rachel. This is not a debate about trans. This is not a debate about insurrections.
Are you able to just think on the fly at all? I didn't come with slides or a prepared argument. I'm just here using my brain and thinking through these things. So you have to have consistency in your worldview. If you don't have consistency in your worldview, there's a very good chance that you're wrong.
Bro. Mucinex germ got a perm, bro. Poor Amanda's just been. Oh man, there's too many opportunities. Oh man, thanks for the $2.
And you should probably
that was worth
consider
$2.
I am always open. Okay, I'm sorry, there was a pause. I thought you were done. But I'm always open to the idea that I could be wrong. I just don't think I am. And I've given you my reasons, and you have failed to engage with what I am saying. That's where we're running into a problem here. I showed you my slides. I gave you my arguments. I showed you the images, and all of a sudden you want to talk about trans. I didn't say anything about trans. You want to talk about January 6th. I didn't say anything about January 6th.
I'm testing your logic. I'm testing the coherency of your positions. Your slides are not arguments. You gave us a lot of facts. You gave facts. I can give facts. Facts are not arguments. There's no such thing as like a brute fact that's self-explanatory. They all have to be interpreted and argued in a worldview. So
the facts support the argument that feminism is better for society.
Well, do you think that feminism, tell me, okay, why don't you ask me questions then? Like where do you feel I'm failing to address your arguments?
Because I said feminism is better for society because this is what feminism is. It's equality, okay? It is equal opportunities and dignities. It is not about sameness. You keep going back to saying
how has that made things better? So you're saying I think these things are good. I prefer them, but how has it improved society? And can you give me some
because it's opened up a lot of opportunities for women to do things like, I mean, we talked about you talked about this with Craig, write the code to put us on the moon. You know, in 18 whatever, before there was the technology, she wouldn't have been able to do it.
Happened. That'd be cool.
You really think Margaret Hamilton did not write the code to put us on the moon?
No, you can look it up right now and find out that she was just one person on a team of many, many people, most of whom were men, who did all of the work, and that just because she happened to be in the bullpen with a bunch of men doing a little bit of clerical work does not mean
writing code is not clerical work. Writing and developing code with a team is not clerical work. And it was feminism that allowed those men to take her seriously and take her opinion into account so that they could collectively write the code, put the men on the moon, advance technology. Again, another example of how feminism would not have arisen without the technology, which you, for some reason, thought was going to dismantle my argument. Yet I'm telling you, no, this is true. Okay. And feminism is good.
So what you're doing, well, what you've done just now is admit that there would be no such thing as this illusion, this idea, this beautiful fantasy called feminism if men didn't create technology and then use that technology to enforce rights on women's behalf at their behest for them. So ultimately,
That doesn't make it bad, Rachel. That does not make feminism bad.
well, it just makes it an illusion. It makes it not real. It makes it simply a social contract we have for now, which, by the way, I think is completely unsustainable and will end soon and be remembered as a bad dream, because these birth rates are not sustainable. Men are getting sick of this. They're checking out. They're realizing, because here's what we need.
Yeah, there are a lot of incels. I saw a lot of them at DebateCon.
Oh yeah, they're incels.
Amanda called us all incels. That's rough.
Takes
you know
one to
what?
know one? Question mark.
She probably went up to at least 30 dudes when we were all at least 6 drinks deep trying to get laid. And because no one wanted to have sex with her, she said, it must be incels.
Yeah.
Lady, you said you didn't want to do insults in this debate, so please don't start calling men incels, because I won't be able to restrain myself. But let's talk about outcomes. If you think that feminism is better for society, let's talk about the promises of feminism. Do you think feminism has made women and children safer as it promised to do?
I don't know if it promised that, but I do think it has.
Oh, it absolutely promised that. Check out the National Association of Women Lawyers, which was the lobbying group that fought for no-fault divorce, and pretty much every other major feminist organization, which had giant smear campaigns all the way from the time of Prohibition, all the way up through the 1980s, which convinced most women that the main threat to them in their lives was their fathers and their husbands, and that this is why they needed no-fault divorce. This is why they needed sexual
Do
liberation.
you have any evidence to support that? Like, where are you pulling this? I mean,
What?
I'm not like saying,
The
you know,
propaganda
this is true.
campaigns?
What propaganda campaigns? What are you talking about?
The Congress for Cultural Freedom is one good example. This was a CIA program. It was a Cold War program where they were trying to contrast us in the West with the, Stalinist kind of Eastern Bloc mentality and pushing women's liberation and feminism as part of the Cold War. So this was a huge effort with over 400 major media publications around the world. Gloria Steinem was recruited out of Smith College to join this effort in the 60s. She traveled to India and Europe to go to youth festivals and help promote feminism there. And it was same thing with her Ms. Magazine. Ms. Magazine, if you said you read my book, so in the beginning,
I saw that in there with the
CIA actually, the CIA actually helped create and push Ms. Magazine to convince women that they needed, this sexual liberation, that they needed abortion rights because they were being oppressed. So yes, this is, and again, like I said, during the women's temperance movement, which people will say that's a Christian movement, not exactly true. The people who were in charge of the women's temperance movement and got prohibition passed were actually like super left-wing progressives of the progressive era. They used the moniker Christian, but they were pretty radical. They were like Quakers, Christian Scientists. They were not like mainline Lutherans or Catholics for sure. They were the most radical leftist kind of subversive Christians. They had massive propaganda campaigns that were in pamphlets, newspapers, magazines. Time magazine was one of the big ones with the Henry Luce Foundation to convince women that pretty much all the men were alcoholics who were constantly beating their wives. This is why people believe this stuff. People believe these myths and these lies because of huge propaganda campaigns pushed by NGOs with billions of dollars. So do you need more evidence or no?
Well, a lot of that was bare assertion, but what I'm going to say, Rachel,
that's not bare assertion. That was a highly detailed, and you can Google it. I mean, I didn't bring slides, but you can look it up after and tell me if any of that was wrong. I've written extensively on all of this stuff.
I've reading your book, Rachel. I know that you've written about it. What I'm going to say right now is that we talk about framing. You're saying these people convinced women. They like forced them to think this way. We can't know
they didn't
for sure.
Force them. Well, it's propaganda. That's how it's the same way we get the Americans to support World War II when nobody wanted anything to do with it. Was propaganda, right?
Well,
I'm sure
and
you can
it's
agree
being attacked too. That had something to do with it. But
yeah, and I don't know if you know that. Well, we won't get into that. But yes, propaganda is always used to sway public opinion. It's most of politics is just information war and propaganda. Yes.
What I'm saying, though, is you frame it as propaganda convincing women of something. When I go back to Ibsen, you say this isn't reality. Well, Ibsen actually based that character off his friend.
That's
And
an anecdote.
secondly,
Nobody's
Yeah, it is an
nobody's
anecdote.
saying that there isn't an abusive husband out. There's abusive husbands. I had one. Okay.
well, it wasn't.
There are abusive
Okay.
husbands. There
Yes.
are bad men. However, it's not historically accurate that all the women were being beaten and abused by alcoholics.
When did when did I say that?
So
Because your
you
version
said
of
you said
I said
feminism.
oppression, which
You
is
said
not.
feminism is protecting women. Don't you think it protects
didn't s-
women?
I said it's better for society. I didn't say it
what is
protects
it?
women.
Then be specific and tell me what it does that makes it better.
What do you mean? What
Thank
it
you.
does
You
is
just
it
give me
grants women
vague
person.
platitudes.
It grants
It
women
grants women
individuality and
person.
personhood.
You don't
And
think they had that prior to 1920?
prior to 1920, when we got the very specific right to vote,
Okay, when did women not have personhood?
Middle Ages, we'll go there.
Based on what?
Spanish Inquisition, Malleus Maleficarum, witch hunts, all that.
Do you know that that was real? You
Is this
know that there
Reddit?
really were witches and that they were the
No,
ones that
Rachel,
most-
there's no such thing as magic.
it
there's an-
doesn't matter if you believe in magic. It matters if you know that there were women who called themselves witches. They practiced witchcraft. They thought it was real. And those were the people who performed abortions. And most of the time,
Yeah,
when they
you
were
wrote
doing-
about that, Rachel.
Yes, when they were doing witch hunts, it's because they were going after the
Well,
abortion providers.
Well, that's actually not entirely accurate. If you read, it translates as like the witch's hammer or the hammer of the witches.
I've got a
It's
copy
spe-
of it right back there. Yes.
Oh, you paid for it? It's in the public domain. But anyway,
I have I love having a real library with real books. I don't want to rely on digital copies of everything. I want to have a real library. So yes, I have
Yeah.
the witches, Hammer of Witches. Yes.
Okay. It specifically spells
Okay.
out how to find a witch, and everything basically listed in that book that does not have to do with what they think was magic is labeled as demonic. Women appearing in your dreams, demon.
Mm-hmm. And
So-
and do you think that do you think those things, again, this is where we have to look at the historical lens. Do you think pagans didn't do that to women? Do you think that men didn't do that to other men? Do you know
Well-
that about 20% of people who were burned as witches were men? So
Yes,
there
I
were some
do.
men. Yeah, there were some men who were also persecuted
And
in this way.
Can-
But
Can I
just
show you? Can I
because
show you the slide that says that men benefit from feminism too?
they don't, though. How do men benefit
But-
from feminism when they?
My slide says so.
Let's look at the
Because
state
they
of
can be more
family court.
honest.
Do you think that men benefit from feminism in the family court system?
I'm not sure where you're going with this.
Has feminism given men equal parenting rights?
Well, it gives the way family court works is it takes the one who's worse and limits the time with the children. Oftentimes that is a female. So now we're just.
That's actually not true. So if you go to
All
my
right, whatever.
Substack and read the
I'm not
article
gonna
I
go to your
wrote,
Substack.
you should, because you'd
That's
learn
what
a
I'm not going
lot.
to.
You could go there and read my article, 45 Years of Data Proving That Men Are Not the Threat. There's
Men are not the threat. It's women who are the threat. Women who live with an unmarried partner that abuses the child in their relationship. I've heard it all, Rachel, and I still disagree
Is that
with
wrong? Is it wrong?
it.
No, it's not wrong.
It's okay,
No, it's not
Rachel,
wrong. You
but
just
that's-
don't
listen.
like it. You just
Listen.
don't.
What's the matter? Thank you for the another 5. Carrying, guys, putting all you other freeloaders to shame. The melting ice cream is making appeals to abnormalities. Yeah, you don't make rules based on the exception, right? That's common sense.
Yep.
Man, you're-
Amanda is 100% a threat to my pantry.
and hers, definitely hers. Your rights comment triggered late. Imagine being against human rights. LOL.
Yeah,
See,
they don't
when people
exist.
make and when people make these broad statements, like you understand, like we literally grant human rights for a second. Like
How
there
can
are
I be
literal
against something
people-
that doesn't exist?
True. Even if we grant it, imagine being against children not having the right to vote. How awful is that? Imagine being against felons having the right to vote. Like,
pull up the comment that Corey just made. Deer are a threat to my beard. I don't understand it, but it is funny just because it's absurd.
deer are a threat to your beard.
Like what?
I, dude, I don't know, man. Yeah. I'm waiting for him to elaborate, but I don't know if we're gonna get one.
Yeah.
No, you listen. You listen.
No,
Because
Rachel.
what feminism has done is it has exposed women to more violence, not less. Women
Wrong.
living with cohabitative partners and with other women have the highest rates of abuse. The safest place for women is in a marriage with the biological father of their children. That male is the least likely to
Is least
hurt
likely to
her
be
and the
reported,
most
Rachel. You
likely-
had the same debate. You were
most-
debunked.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
then
Rachel, I'm not going to
do
have this
better
debate
than
with you
Craig and
again.
show me where I'm wrong.
Lesbians beat the shit out of each other, if you guys didn't know. They have the highest. It's literally like 65% of lesbian relationships report domestic abuse at one point or another. Isn't that insane? You could do a whole stream on that, I think, alone.
Because we're just talking past each other right now.
We're not.
Is
You have to
feminism-
contend with this. How is feminism helping women? How? What
because
is
it
doing
gives
for
us the
me?
choice of no fault divorce. If you don't like your husband and you're miserable, you can leave. It gives us the opportunity to be seen intellectually for what we are and to go be a CEO of a corporation.
All right, I keep seeing this comment, so I guess we should address it. Since anti-feminists believe women depend on men, it's not a belief. That's knowledge. It's a fact. Then what is your opinion of lesbians, T's, gay, and ROS, which I believe are like asexual?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with women depending on men? Yes, lesbians still depend on men to live in our society. Just because they don't sleep with men doesn't mean they don't depend on them for their plumbing, their electricity, their heat. Like, you just don't understand the argument, I guess. Or maybe I don't understand your question. I don't know. Do you see anything in there?
No, it's pretty simple answer.
Right.
Corporation if we want to be. It gives us the opportunity to go get a PhD. That didn't happen in the Middle Ages, and there are probably women out there who wanted to. Most of those women.
Women couldn't get PhDs in the Middle Ages, therefore feminism good. Oh my goodness. All
Are
right.
actually nuns, surprisingly enough.
Exactly right. And let's talk about this is the framing again. How many men do you think were getting PhDs in the Middle Ages?
Probably not that many, Rachel, because it didn't really
Almost
exist.
none. PhDs were for a handful of the smartest people. It's
And the rest
same
were out in the fields working, getting
That's right. That's
cannon
right. they
fodder,
were.
while women were also in the dirt dying in childbirth. And
Yes, life was it's almost like life was hard for everyone and that women were not
no one
uniquely
is
oppressed.
saying it's not.
Women were not uniquely oppressed. So why did they need to be liberated? What did they need feminism for? If they weren't uniquely oppressed by men, what was the point of feminism?
To elevate the entire society to include women. Men benefit from it too.
How?
By being able to be more open and be emotional and staying
So they
at
can
home if
cry.
they want.
Hey men, when you get your children stolen from you in family court, you can cry about it publicly.
Yes, they
Aren't you
can.
happy? Isn't that great? Isn't that better?
They can go find support from a therapist or
thank
something.
God. Thank
Yeah,
God they
thank
can
God.
find emotional support after.
Can we talk about how like half the chat is just calling us incels right now?
Is it really?
Yeah, not like you're married.
We hit the liberal algorithm tonight.
Apparently, we've got a lot of liberals in here very upset.
Oh
They're
yeah, like 4 of them just popped up in here, huh?
Yep.
Look at the incels telling women that they need them. Yeah, first off, I'm married. Second off, what what about it is wrong? Can you tell me what's wrong?
I'm a
Or do you
volcel.
just Wait, what'd you say?
I said I'm a volcel.
What's that? Oh,
Voluntar-
voluntary.
voluntarily, yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, it is interesting how like all the attacks you see on Nick Fuentes, they're all just saying like
He's a
don't
virgin.
take yeah,
Look at this virgin. It's like, yeah,
yeah.
that's kind of based. Like, I don't
Yeah.
love Nick by any means. Like, I'm not
No,
a
no,
huge fan
no.
of
But
him, but
just this criticism is a sloppy one for sure. It's like he he's not married. He's never been married and he's a virgin. It's like, yeah, that's kind of the point.
yeah.
that's
You're
that's
saying
what
that,
I
like,
want.
yeah, that's kind of the standard. Like that's like the what we're aiming for.
Yeah, exactly.
Now they're
Yeah,
saying
and
Nick
this
takes it
is
in
the
the butt.
best part, right? Nick's so
Yeah.
gay. Hey, wait, something's wrong with being gay. Let's say he is gay. Now all of a sudden, because it benefits you, you want to rip on gay people? They have no principle. Absolutely zero
Nope.
principle.
Nope.
Emotional support after getting
Hold on,
railroaded
hold
in
on,
court,
hold on.
getting their
Pause it
kids
real quick.
taken away because
Pull up
Easier?
Easiologic. Yeah.
Don't you just want to get laid and be happy, man?
Yeah,
Yeah,
bro.
we
Yeah,
tried that. It
bro.
was hell.
Yeah, not like that was like all of my 20s and I finally grew up and like realized, hey, like I'm ruining my life and hurting people,
Yeah.
like hurting myself and just yeah.
It is an interesting thing. Like even when I had zero like mental issue, like when I thought about when I flirted with a girl and she accepted it, she flirted with me back, I was souped. Even after the deed was done, even in that mindset of not caring about God, not caring about the consequences, not caring about the morality of the issues,
Yep.
you still knew at the end of it, like something is off here. What I'm
Yeah.
doing is not conducive to what is good for me.
Especially in like
E- e-
hookup, like when it was just like
Yeah.
hookups or anything like that. Like you feel dirty regardless. Like it's not like yeah, you think you're having fun, but then you just feel gross. Like
Yeah.
maybe it's a little different if you're like in a long-term relationship, but like you're still like with a secular
Right.
mindset, I think people are still working towards marriage. Like there's still that logos spermaticos of they're working towards that good because there is this inherent like longing for that intimacy where two become one
Yeah.
because that is how it was designed.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like I'd like break up with a girl and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm free. Like I'm going out with the boys. We're going out. We're getting late tonight." And then you do that for a little while, and like for some reason, I was like, I just like want a girlfriend, and I didn't
Yeah.
understand it at the time. I
You
didn't
just
know
feel
like,
empty. You feel unfulfilled by
yeah,
it because it's vapid. It's just hedonism. And that's what
yeah,
leads to like nihilism. That's what leads to like nihilism essentially can result in like one of two things, like either absolute hedonism or like just unalive yourself because everything sucks and nothing has meaning. And the hedonism is just to cover up that where you have no purpose in your life.
absolutely, absolutely. All right, I'm gonna go grab a water. You're in charge of entertainment.
because their
Thank you.
wife decided the husband, the neighbor next door is sexier. My wife decided the neighbor next door is sexier. He made her feel hot. And so she's leaving me and she's taking my kids, but at least I can cry about it. Thanks, feminism.
Yeah, and you can go to a therapist and keep from wanting to commit suicide over it. But the thing is,
Or we could just
Or-
go back to where we had intact families and children were raised in intact families. Let's talk about the risks of children.
Rachel,
Let's
in
talk
the
about
Middle
risks of
Ages,
children and fatherless homes.
Easy. I'll pause it for a second to address your question. So you said why humans don't have rights because I'm stronger and smarter than you two. I can take you as slaves because you have no rights. I mean, ultimately, might can make. I'm not saying that might makes right. It's not a proscriptive argument. It's descriptive. It's just saying that human rights don't actually ontologically exist in the sense that we have these inalienable rights that are just inherent to us as human beings. No, I would agree, like to some extent, like with my within my paradigm, we have duties to one another. But that doesn't mean that there's this. Show me rights then. You said, yes, they do exist. Show me them. Show me where rights exist. It's just relativistic. It's subjective.
Tell me the vibe in a YouTube vertical chat doesn't give you early TikTok debate culture vibe.
I wasn't on TikTok that like I literally didn't make my TikTok until like, I don't know, September this past year.
So
I was
there's
super late to the
definitely a
party.
lot of low tier people on TikTok. But you can for a fact, and I'll give TikTok this. If you go live for long enough on TikTok, you'll run into some good debaters. You'll
Oh, yeah.
get your chops tested.
Yep.
It wasn't
Yep.
always like that on TikTok. Because it's like
Was
remember
it
when
lower tier
Fortnite came
before?
out? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Remember when Fortnite came out?
Yeah.
Super popular game, right?
Mhm.
Hide current cover. When the way it was played, extremely different. It's not because people weren't good video game players. There was a ton of people who play, but that specific game evolved like crazy. Like now, if you never played Fortnite before, you'll never be able to play it at a decent level. Like even in a regular lobby, you just get destroyed, right?
Yep.
That's how it is in like debating on TikTok. Like if you don't know the debates that have already happened over the last 2 years on TikTok, you're
Yeah.
going into a gunfight with a knife.
Yep.
That's a new culture is starting on YouTube with vertical streams, and it's that same cycle because it's a lot of new people. Some of the people from TikTok transfer over, but there's a ton of new people who they don't even know about TikTok. They don't know about that debate culture there. But because it's transferring over to YouTube, especially in the vertical format, you're seeing like the beginning of TikTok culture in YouTube vertical. And like, dude, a rights panel would probably like, I don't know if a rights panel would do that well on TikTok. What do you think? Like that argument's been there forever, right?
It's been there way too long. It's kind of
But-
like played out.
Yeah, but look at the comments.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, show me where rights exist. I mean, your rights, like if they actually have an ontology, then they should be universal.
yeah.
They should exist regardless of what country you're in.
By the way, speaking of gay things, look how small this vape is. I don't know if you can tell. It's a Mike Tyson mini. My wife, I got it for my wife, and I gave it to her. She goes, "Am I gonna have a lisp now?"
This is so low tier though. Like someone just said UN Declaration of Rights. Hello. It's like, okay, did they not exist before that?
Yeah.
Like
These so-called inalienable rights.
Yeah. Like I said, I recognize that we have a duty to each other to uphold the dignity of other human beings as image bearers of God. And that is something that is transcendental and universal.
Yes, they existed before the UN Declaration of Rights. Okay, then where did they exist before the UN Declaration of Rights? And if you're just going to keep pushing it back like, oh, when they were written down before that, the idea of inalienable rights, that like there was a time and point where humans existed and this idea of inalienable human rights did not exist, correct?
I wish YouTube made it easier to bring people up onto like panels and stuff. I mean, you could open up the StreamYard.
I could open up the StreamYard if you want.
If you want to do that for a little bit, I'm kind of over this. I mean, it's just at the end of the day, like,
Okay.
I am a little bit.
I probably have enough to clip a video out anyway.
Yeah.
If I get to it, because it's so much work, dude. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna clip this out and make a video. And it's like, So I have 3 hours to edit this thing.
That's one thing that we were talking about, like use cases for AI. Like AI can do some decent clipping, like find at least like the good parts. Like it can recognize that.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna drop the link. Oh, actually, I have to do it this way because people can't figure out how to type in a StreamYard link. Because on vertical you can't actually press the link. How stupid is that?
Yeah, that's pretty weak. You gotta fix that.
It's gonna be. Oh, I won't even say the link yet because it's not ready. It's on the other thing. I'm changing manage domain. I'm forwarding a domain that's easy for you people to type in because that's the only way people come up here. All right, if you go to wifigospel.com, wifigospel.com. Let me pin that.
I got like another 45 minutes and then I gotta get to bed.
Same.
You coming to church
dude.
tomorrow?
I meant to tell you that before we got on. Due to the circumstances from before that we talked about Brown, they canceled the chair event because they haven't caught the guy.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
And it's like 5 minutes from where it happened.
Yep.
So
No, that makes a lot of sense.
I may or may not. She said she might still go to the gym to do a practice, so I'll let you know in the morning.
Okay. Hope to see you there.
Absolutely, same. I don't even grant rights as a transcendental. I don't think you can tag rights, only dignity. Duties. Yeah, you said duties earlier, right?
Yeah,
Duties are transcendental.
Well, we have a duty. We have a moral duty to uphold the dignity of other human beings as made in the image and likeness of God.
But I guarantee we probably will still have to go through this debate because I guarantee you nobody comes up. They just want to spurg out in the chat and make bad arguments. Thank you for the $5 again. So Schoolboy is a baptized Orthodox Christian. I was a Protestant for a long time. I'm inquiring very slowly
into orthodoxy.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm Eastern Orthodox. I'm in the Greek Archdiocese. I'm a Tantra reader.
Yeah, so the link is open if you guys want to prove that rights exist. Or you want to talk about anything, really. You have any beef? Come on up. We'll bring you right up. Orthodoxies are cults.
It's the coolest cult there is. All religions are cults.
He says all religion.
Rachel, in the Middle Ages where the father was at home, do you think domestic violence was lower than it is now when the father's not at home? A lot of this has to do with okay, well, you're very wrong about that. But
how do you know? You can't prove that. You don't have records. You don't have domestic violence records going back to the Middle Ages.
Carta.
You don't have any statistics.
I have the Magna Carta. I have the Doomsday.
What does that have to do with anything?
It tells you about the society. You take these objects, this is what we do in archaeology and anthropology, and you study the society.
What up, toilet? Slave to God or slave to sin? Make a choice. Amen.
Based.
Take the artifact, you look at it, you read it.
Actually, pause it real quick.
Around you to build a bigger.
I don't even like the idea. Like, yes, in a sense, but like slave to God. That I think that's a weird way to put it. I forget which saint
writes. He was a slave to God.
What was that?
Paul said he was a slave to God.
Yeah, but like in one sense, but we have a saint who writes that ultimately there's like 3 stages of our spiritual development. And I think I've talked to you about this too before, Alex. Like where initially we operate from that idea of being a slave to God, right? Like out of obedience, out of fear of punishment. But then that grows and we essentially become a soldier. We become like almost like a mercenary. We do it looking for rewards. like, because we understand what has been promised to us. But the goal is to do these things out of love as a son, to take on that adoption. And we have these periods of progression and regression in our spiritual lives in different aspects of our life. But
Yeah, what's the proverb? Let me look it up. The
fear of God is the beginning of wisdom.
The slave becomes a son.
Yeah. Yeah,
We have
exactly.
a guest. Oh, well, it's oh yeah, right here. A wise servant will rule over a disgraceful son and will share the inheritance as one of the family.
Yep.
Kind of on that point.
Yep.
All right, we got Boone. Hold on, I gotta change this. What's up, man?
Boone?
How are
Good
you?
morning, gentlemen. What's going on?
What's
too much, how are you?
your name in chat?
I was Easy A Logistics. I was the guy training
Okay,
you guys.
cool.
That's it.
That's all right.
So yeah,
That's what the chat's for.
yeah, and you guys are cool. I appreciate the healthy debate. At least you guys listen and you're very open-minded, which is very cool.
I don't know if I'd say I'm open-minded, but I try to keep it respectful.
Yeah, I think it's because, like you said, you've changed a lot. I think your positions over the years, so that's good. I think it's good to experience that.
Yeah, I'm just so you know where I'm coming from. I was raised Roman Catholic, rejected that in my teens and early 20s, and then lived most of my 20s essentially as an atheist, just as a hedonist. And even if I confessed Christ with my lips, I didn't really follow him. And it wasn't until a few years ago that I really started to take my faith more seriously. Looked into a lot of church
were you a
history.
fan of Christopher Hitchens and Sam Harrison, all those guys?
Were you?
Not really. I wasn't like a super learned, like, I didn't care. I just didn't care about religion. It was just like, no, like, I was just a materialist, like very analytically minded material. Like, yeah.
Okay.
Reality is reality, bro.
I had a similar experience. I grew up in the Catholic Church, was an altar boy, wanted to be a priest, went down that whole road. And then one day I just had a very simple thought about, like, where does the Bible actually come from? Because I just had this idea that, like, the Bible came down in a cloud one day. And that's a very
Protestant. That's a very Protestant understanding a lot of the times, like, because that's an argument that we make a lot in apologetic circles because of the canonization of Scripture and how it came to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane how much it's changed. And yeah, so basically that sent me down the last 12 years road of being obsessed with history and being obsessed with theology and the formation of the Bible and all the kind of conferences and everyone's kind of contribution to getting into where we are today. So it's a very complex thing. What kind of denomination are you guys now?
I'm Eastern Orthodox.
Eastern Orthodox.
So are you familiar with the Great Schism?
You guys don't even have the right calendar, bro. Come on. Like, how do you can't even have the right, you're like a week late always, bro. Come on. 2 weeks late.
Technically, so I'm under GoArch, and GoArch in America operates on New Calendar. So we actually use a similar, like, we use like the Gregorian calendar. Essentially, it's the revised Julian.
Okay, that's really interesting. And like, what's it been like doing this whole thing? Like, do you think religion's growing at the moment in America, where you guys are with young people? What's your position on it?
I think it's beautiful. I think it's exploding. I think that especially a lot of younger men are striving for more traditional values because of the just rampant relativism that's been pushed on us, where there essentially is no truth, like universal truth. Like, it's all my truth. And people are understanding we have this hunger for something that's greater than ourselves.
Don't you think that's what science is finding the truth? It's like the you can't even argue about it, truth. It's like that's the reality. Whether it's evolution, Big Bang, when you've got mountains and mountains and mountains of evidence, isn't that like valuable?
Well, like, evidentialism, like, all of it has to be understood through a paradigm. Like, I'm not anti-science by any means, but there are certain theories of science that I disagree with. One of them being evolution, Big Bang. I do disagree with those. I think that they rely on axiomatic principles that are completely unfounded, and it's just brute facts, and it becomes just a bare assertion at its core.
And science isn't actually the strongest form of knowledge. That's why scientific theories, like,
it's far stronger than faith. Let's be honest. At least you're dealing with something in reality. Like, it's not just
Yeah, but science itself relies on faith.
Not really. I mean, that's the whole point. Is it has to be testable. You have to be able to do something, take it to the other side of the world, and test it again and get the same result. Prayer and supernatural things don't really work like that, and that's why they're not scientifically tested. Because
in Eastern Orthodoxy, we have a different view of that, though. Like, we actually have there are certain saints that we refer to as empirical theologians because they.
But don't you think that's weird? Even the saint thing. Why are you guys worshiping saints? You're not allowed to worship other people. You're only supposed to worship God.
We venerate them. We don't worship them. We venerate them.
Yeah.
We understand God. We understand God works through these. We understand that God works through these human beings, and that like we are temples of the Holy Spirit, and it's the glory of it's to the glory of God. When we venerate these saints, we are worshiping God and how He has worked in them and through them.
What do you guys think about this weird?
Before we move on, I do want to, because you kind of glossed over it. Science absolutely relies on faith. Every scientific experiment ever relies on induction, right?
What
the belief that the future will be like the past?
No, we believe in entropy. Well, don't believe. We know about entropy as science, and we know things change over time. So it's definitely not the case on that one. But what I really want to ask you guys
hold on.
Yeah.
When you do a scientific experiment, you're expecting things to stay the same.
If you replicate the experiment exactly,
and it changes, then your experiment is bunk.
But you're presupposing a uniformity of nature, like the laws of physics and such, to act the same as they did prior. You're already assuming that it's necessary for it to actually be consistent, to actually be able to experiment. These things have to actually be consistent, and science can't itself ground why that is, and that's why I say everything has to be understood within a paradigm.
Yeah, but at least science is testable. That's the great thing, is that we can make a claim, we can check the claim, we can double check the claim, triple check it, and then we can come to a conclusion. Whereas with everything else, it's just kind of hoping for the best. It's just like, God, I really hope this happens. But gents, I really want to ask your opinion on something, just my experience. I'm very much an atheist, or agnostic atheist. I switch between the two, but I've studied the Bible for many years. What do you guys think of this? Okay, well, we know religion is dying the data. Okay, like it has been dying generation by generation, from the boomers to Gen Z to millennials to Gen X. Church attendance, just religion as a whole, is declining massively. Okay, but there is a boom a bit with the Gen Z people, that the young 20s that seem to be influenced by this whole thing. And they'll talk about having a relationship with God. They'll talk about Jesus. They'll talk about a lot about Jesus. But the minute you scratch the surface and try and figure out what these people's understandings of Jesus is, they have no idea who this guy is. They can't even tell you one quote. What do you think that is? Do you think it's just cultural brainwashing, or do you think?
I think they're looking, like I said, I think they're looking for something that's more grounded outside of themselves, something that points to a greater truth beyond just their own experience. And unfortunately, because of it's definitely misunderstood. Like, as an Eastern Orthodox Christian, I have a very narrow view of what it means to be a Christian, because to be a Christian is to be united to the body of Christ, and there is only one body of Christ, and that is the Eastern Orthodox Church, the Eastern Orthodox community. So everyone that's outside of that claims the title of Christian is only nominally Christian, and God may have mercy on them. We don't know. We don't make salvific claims about ourselves or others in Eastern Orthodoxy. But ultimately, like, we know where the fullness of the faith is, and we know that God can work in
nominal belief is a human characteristic. You find that amongst every belief.
But don't you think these people would read the Bible? It is crazy how they have got no basis or understanding of anything to do with the Bible. Even the Gospels. You bring up the Gospels and they're like, I don't even know who the Gospel. I'm like, how can you claim to believe in something, which I think is just as insulting, just to be like, hey, I believe in this thing, because it gets them on your side, but they don't really understand what they believe in, and they don't really, you know what I mean? It's like me right now saying I'm a massive Game of Thrones fan, and I've never watched an episode, and I start telling people about Game of Thrones, but I have no idea what's going on in Game of Thrones. I look like an idiot. And I think young people who claim to be religious should actually take the time to figure out. I mean, like, if you mention the Gospels, they don't even know what the Gospels are, and then you mention that only 2 of the Gospels mention the birth, and the story after the birth are completely different. One, Herod kills all the babies, they have to flee to Egypt. The other, he returns to Jerusalem. Which is it? You try to have a decent conversation with people with a basic thing like that, and they can't.
These things aren't contradiction, though. They're just different aspects of the same story. Like, they are harmonious.
They're very contradictory, by the way.
No,
Can you
you're
provide
presupposing that you're presupposing that through your interpretation of the Bible.
Well, it's just the 2 stories mention 2 different things. Can I ask you guys' opinion? What do you think of Saul? Paul?
Yeah, but hold on. You every time we push back on you, you run to something
Yeah.
else. So we gotta
No, I'm
stick
trying
one
to get as
topic at a
much.
time.
Okay, what do you want me to answer on that?
Well, I
the
honestly
whole
wanted to
gospel
bring
issue?
up your comments here because that's why, what we were talking about. You were
Yeah.
talking about human rights, right?
Yes.
Why don't humans have rights? Where was the other one?
Yeah.
Dudes, tell me why humans don't have rights.
Okay,
So you would say
just to let you guys know, okay, there's a thing called the Code of Hammurabi. Okay, so first of all, when you talk about human history way predates Christianity. Christianity is very recent, well, relatively recent in the terms of history, and humans have been way before that. We've had millions of gods before Jesus. We'll have millions of gods after Jesus. It's a very human thing to create these stories. All right. Human rights predate. There's a thing called the Code of Hammurabi that came out like in Egypt, like in 2000 BC, which kind of lays out how society should work. And we've had many copies of these.
It was Sumeria. It was Sumeria, not Egypt.
Sorry, not Egypt. Sorry, Sumeria. This was. Yeah,
I'm familiar. I'm familiar.
Yeah. So this gives a very clear layout of how to treat each other. Even the early Torah, the Bible, all of these things seem to be a code on how to deal with each other and how to work as a society. Because the concept of a society is a very fragile thing. It's a very, very tenuous, fragile thing that we.
There are utilitarian aspects to it, but I'm not saying. But that's like just a very narrow view of what they truly are. Like, because even like me in my early 20s, when I started to like really dive a little bit deeper and look for that truth, I started to read scripture. Like I was very familiar with like Far Eastern religions at the time. I had very like a perennialist view after I came out of atheism. Like I considered myself spiritual, not religious. And I was like looking at all these different beliefs and I was looking for the common thread. Like, oh, okay, they all have like elements of the truth. Like none of them have like a monopoly on it. But then Christianity makes a very exclusive claim in the person of Christ where he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And we can understand as Christians that even those elements of good, like things that I was looking for earlier in my life, where I was like, oh, this is common thread. The way that we look at it as Orthodox Christians is logos spermaticos. It's Greek. It means seeds of the word. So ultimately, because all of creation was made through Christ, there are these elements of truth present.
Well, that's a nice way to put it. That's very pretty. But yeah, I mean, even Jesus, the whole golden rule thing, treat your neighbor like, treat others how you want to be treated. That way predates Jesus and obviously the Judeo-Christian religions. This goes back to the
nothing
Greeks.
predates. But that's where you're no longer like making an internal critique on our worldview because nothing predates Jesus.
What do you mean predates Jesus?
He's eternal.
I'm just trying to figure out how this proves that humans have rights.
Well, what I'm trying to say to you, okay, so basically humans have been around for 250,000 years, okay? We're just saying that this is the reality that we know through the fossil record, through DNA, through numerous things. This is not debatable. Humans have been around for a very...
It is debatable.
Based on faith, right?
Human expansion, all that stuff. We've got a really good understanding of it, all right? As humans, we've achieved amazing things. So about 250,000 years ago, we started leaving Africa and off we go. The reality is that at some point we had to realize that we can't keep treating each other like shit, and we can't kill each other, and we can't murder each other, and we can't rape each other, because the small pack of 60 people that we used to be is not going to get very far, okay? And whether you believe in Göbekli, we're still trying to figure out how Göbekli Tepe fits into the picture about 9,000 BC, but about 4,000 BC, we start doing agriculture, all these kinds of things all around the world, and we created civilizations and societies. And like I say, even the Greeks knew, way before the Greeks, other societies said that we need to treat each other well. And whether it's these inalienable rights, it's very semantic on who gives us the rights.
But you're saying they're inalienable. You're saying they're inalienable.
Yeah, right? But we as a society give them to each other. All right. So say
we created them, we made them up, right?
So that's relativistic. That doesn't show that they actually have ontology. That's the argument that I'm making.
The same way society doesn't really exist. It's just an idea of people doing something together.
Right.
So
you agree they don't really exist. It's just a construct.
Well, a society doesn't exist, and it's just a term that we give to something to make us as humans survive better together.
Okay, so we agree. Human rights don't exist ontologically.
No, well, they do. They very much. They don't exist in the same way religions don't exist. Okay, it's the same way that God doesn't exist. It's something that you create for yourself to justify the world and understand the world. The same way we do this to each other. We tell ourselves that humans are amazing, that we're all special, and we all have something to contribute to the tribe. And that's why we need to look after each other and treat each other nicely. It's only like if you look at the Jewish Torah and stuff, like it gets really brutal, like the way they treat other people, like don't even leave the cattle behind. Don't leave the woman, don't leave the children. We kill everybody. The Bible tried to take rights away from us, and it's a very important thing that you need to understand as well. is we live in a secular society, all right? And we don't live in a religious society. And thank God we don't, because it would be terrible for all of us.
What do you mean, thank God?
And what's
Hold on,
happened
Yeah,
over...
you can't just say 20 different things and expect us to answer them. You're just
Yeah.
going to keep moving
Yeah,
on.
It's called,
Right.
that's literally called gish
Yeah,
galloping.
but I just want to end on this point quickly if I can. So we have secular rights, okay? So if this was 100 years ago, it's only us, the homies, dude, the white males, we have the rights, bro. Everyone else is subhuman. Everyone else doesn't get to vote. Everyone doesn't get a say. Everyone shuts up. Women get beaten. That's just the way it is, okay? We as the homies, we running the world.
That is a character.
And then what happened? The suffrage movement happened, and women wanted rights. And we were like, fuck.
Really?
Like,
How many women wanted rights?
It was actually the minority of women that wanted the right to vote.
well,
when
I
that
don't
happened.
know. Well, look, we can't trust the data from that time because a woman didn't have a way to.
I thought that's
to
all we
create
could
things.
trust is the data. I
Well,
thought
well,
science
well,
was the
well,
only
what
way
I'm
we
saying
could know
is, if you went
things.
around and interviewed women in that time, then you were going to get beaten anyway. But let me just
Oh,
get to the
but-
bigger point is that
So you can't
we-
know things from 50 to 100 years ago, but you can know things 250,000 years ago?
oh no, we got DNA tracking and stuff. Like, no, we know what happened 200 years ago. We know women didn't have rights. Men barely had rights.
But
We
you
as
can't
men
trust the
are
data
like,
from
oh,
that long ago.
But we didn't
That's what you
even
just
have rights,
said.
really. We had more rights than other people. But like, if we weren't rich enough, me and you guys, we didn't get to vote. We didn't get a say in certain things. What I'm trying to say is that like, the idea of rights is that
everything that you're saying is just arbitrary. Like it's all relativistic. It's all subjective.
Okay, I just really want to complete this point is that we have our rights because of secular society. So women have rights, black people have rights, gay people have rights, transgender people have rights because of secular society. We have our morals in spite of religion, not because of religion. So religion comes along and says, white males, we get to say, we get to do what we want. We can take slaves, we can kill people, we can do whatever we want because it's justified. And everybody else doesn't have rights. And what's happened over time is now everyone has rights.
Explain why on every single moral data point that you can find, Christians outperform secularists in every nation.
What? That doesn't make sense at all. That's not
Yes, it
true.
does. All right.
Like, but what do you mean by okay?
Adoption.
What do you mean?
Is adoption a good thing?
Adoption is a great thing.
All right. So then why do secularists don't adopt at near the rate that Christians do?
Well, there's probably a lot related to that, but is abusing children good? Is molesting kids en masse good, and then hiding the people who do it?
That's what I would say. Well, if you're upset about that, like hold on. If you're going to drag that up and you're going to like bring up like the atrocities of the Roman Catholic Church,
Jesus, which are something. My God.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, there's a reason that I left Roman Catholicism because it's the parachurch. It's not actually Christianity.
And even then, public schools have far worse cases of child abuse than Catholics.
Not well,
far worse.
That's the reality. Yeah, it's a side topic, but I mean the biggest abuse of children.
No, it's the exact topic you just brought up.
Well, it's the clergy, it's the coaches, it's priests. But
yeah.
I just want to get back
and
to
then,
human rights.
Hold on, no. Child abuse, especially outside of the nuclear family, is through the roof. And secularists have tried to destroy the nuclear family.
No, not at all. I mean, your uncle's probably got more chance of abusing you than anyone. Look, I don't think anyone's against the nuclear family. I think it's men are in a shit situation nowadays.
That's the entire LGBT agenda, is to nuke the nuclear family.
Well, look, I think we do know this enough by ourselves as men, all right? So if you look at the data today, women are better educated, they're getting better jobs, they're getting better paid in the new generation as they come up. Men are becoming unfuckable, terrible humans. Let's be honest with each other. The Asmongold of this world, the fucking
what's
losers
the result of that? What's the result of the things that women are doing, like you just said? More education, etc. No, the result is 600,000 children last year were murdered by their own mother. That's the result. No. The result is women don't have babies nearly enough to reproduce, especially secular women. You're actually relying on the religious to build your society
in general. But the reality is that it's too hard to have kids nowadays financially. Your average person doesn't earn enough.
The poorer you are, the more likely you are to have kids. The poorer you are, the more likely you are to have kids, and the more kids you have.
Yeah,
no, that's always the way it's been. No, it's always the way it's been.
Because you can rely on your state, and there's reasons for that. I come from Africa, dude. Trust me, I know. I live in Africa. I'm fucking well aware of that stat, dude. That's crazy. But
so then what you said was wrong.
But just on the point of men, okay? Because you guys were talking about women's rights and men and the whole suffrage. I mean, the whole rights.
But you still haven't explained how we have rights. You just said they're made up.
Yeah. Do you have an actual? Could you put it like an argument? Can you put it in an actual argument instead of just like slinging like tangent after tangent?
What do you mean?
Like an argument.
Which point?
Any of rights thing.
Right. That's where we started.
Okay, we'll start on right. But I want to come back to the God thing, because I think you guys have an important role to play. Because men are in trouble, dude, as a thing, and I think you guys can agree with that. But coming back to rights,
but well, I mean, just before we get into it, I would like to say, like, that's why faith in God is necessary, because outside of that, you have no telos, you have no purpose. You can't actually know what your purpose as a human being is.
Just because you're not going to get punished is the lowest of all things. I'm an atheist.
What's your purpose as an atheist?
Yeah, what is
to make the world a better place than I found it? That's what it is.
Yeah,
I don't
and
think
who gave you that purpose?
Why?
But why not? Like, that's such a nihilistic.
Because you
way to
made
look at
it
the
your
world.
own purpose, correct?
Well, I was born. Well, look, it's a miracle. It's a more beautiful miracle that if you look at the amazingness of evolution and the formation of the universe and all that kind of stuff, it's even more amazing than I'm here. I'm using that word lightly, but it's amazing that I'm here. Okay, and it's a beautiful, crazy thing, and we're getting a better idea of why we got here. I'll come back to rights now, but the reality is, an atheist, like, my job is to be good to each other, not for an eternal punishment or eternal reward, and it's to make sure that the world's a better place than I left it. That's my job, and I get no punishment for it. I get no reward for it.
Why?
But why?
Because it's the right thing to do. Because as a species, that's
why is it? And how do you ground that it's the right thing to do?
Yeah,
because it's suffering. Okay, look, that's getting into very muddy waters of philosophy. Like, there is no good or bad.
That's not muddy waters.
Like,
that is.
It is, because
you don't even have to get to the meta-ethical level to discuss that.
Like, I'm trying to say, that becomes very muddy.
Meta-ethics, and your normative ethics wouldn't be able to hold up to that purpose.
Is a baby being murdered good or bad?
Yeah, says who?
Well, this is what I'm trying to say. It all depends on morals. It's a dumb fucking argument.
Yeah, and we're asking if your system has any explanatory power for these claims that you're making.
What do you mean?
Like, look, even if we're
performing an internal critique.
Okay. So, in terms of my moralistic position.
Yeah, even granting you meta ethics. Let's say whatever normative ethical system you come up with is objectively the right system. I guarantee you, whatever you think your purpose is does not align with that system.
Okay, so alleviating suffering. Can we agree that is a universal good? No, everyone.
We can't agree on that, but we can grant it to you for the sake of argument.
We can grant it to you.
Okay, well, great. So we want a society. Okay, so imagine we lived in a society where they blind every second child. It's just what we do. As you're born, you get blind if you're the second child. Would that be a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, again, you have to provide a normative.
Why are you asking us? That's literally that's a tu quoque. That's a what about you?
What I'm trying to get across is the point is that there's universal goods and universal bads. There's things that help us as a society. There are things that help us as a tribe, and there's things that don't help us as a tribe. Okay.
Yeah,
and
what's your ethical system to determine those things?
It's whether am I hindering the tribe? Am I making someone else sad? Because if I make somebody sad and I fuck up their situation, they're going to be less productive for the tribe.
Okay, that's a good point. So say there is some chomo, there is some child abuser, and you stop him from doing what he wants to do, and you make him sad.
Perfect.
Yeah. Great.
That goes against your moral code now.
Yeah, and say hypothetically that child abuser is the best hunter. Now you get no meat. You know what I mean? This is how dumb these conversations become. So morals are good and bad.
That's a reductio ad absurdum.
Yeah, you provided a normative ethical principle. Yeah. Don't make people sad.
So I don't know how else to say this, but
it's
basically,
not a good principle.
If something is not good for the society and it infringes on people's ability to function, because at the end of the day, you want the tribe to be happy. That's what this does.
So it's a utilitarian. So let me ask you a clarifying question. Would you agree that the good is whatever benefits the most people?
Well, not the most people. No, it's a very murky thing. But let me ask, let me put it to you like this: you guys. I'm 6'2", okay, and I weigh like 195 pounds, and I've done boxing pretty much my whole life, and I'm well trained in all the fucking martial arts. I could come in there and just grab you motherfuckers and take you away, okay? There's nothing you could do about it, okay? Because I'm bigger and stronger than you. That's the caveman theory of the world. Yeah, okay. I've got a bigger gun then, it's fine. But I'm trying to say to you guys is like there's things that you just know are not right. Like the idea of me just taking you guys because you're weaker.
So intuition. Intuition is
because it's not good
now?
for you guys. Cool, I've got some slaves. That's great. That's going to make my life easier. But like for the greater good of society, that's not really good. So that's why slavery.
Have you ever really met anybody who had zero empathy?
It's like my ex-wife. Yeah, my
Okay. So no, but seriously, like there are people who have their intuition tells them that robbing and mugging people, they're completely fine with it. They sleep
Yeah,
night
and
at night
it's good for
perfectly fine with it.
Like,
because
dude,
it's
there are
good
people
because it's
right
good.
now
Hey, hold on,
murdering
Boone,
people.
Boone, because it's good
Yeah.
for their tribe.
Yeah. That it's a very complex. Trust me, when it comes to these rights and we get into the weeds about it, it gets really fucking messy, dude. And it's a really dumb thing. Like I think we just need to say that everybody has the right to not be murdered, enslaved, to just try and have like a decent life on this weird fucking blue ball that we're spinning through space on. If we can make each other's lives better,
Space is
like that's the
fitting
whole pronoun thing. If you're a fucking toaster and you want me to call you a toaster and it makes your life easier, I'll call you a toaster, dude. And that's my job as a man, is to provide and secure.
To
And I
just
think like
sacrifice
anybody,
all truth for someone's feelings. That's your job as a man.
well, now we're coming back down to the truth thing. But I just think life's difficult, dude. Like, I mean, we're dealing with it as men. What's our number one killer? Do you guys know? What kills us the most?
Suicide.
Damn right, my boy. And you know what the second biggest killer is?
Stress, heart disease.
Yeah, maybe
attack.
heart disease.
Yeah, that what will induce thing is accidental overdose. Is we either killing ourselves on purpose or by mistake as men. And life is tough, dude. It's rough out there. And that's what I think like my job is to like make
Hey,
everyone's life as easy as possible.
You know what's amazing? Another data point. Christians are secularists are twice as likely to unalive themselves or overdose on drugs without religion.
I need to double check these stats because as somebody
I can get it. I can pull it up. I actually, most of these streams I do are debate streams. And for the last 2 or 3 weeks, all I've been debating is Christian ethics are better for society than secular ethics. But you talk to Schoolboy. I'll pull up
dude, that's not even close. What do you mean? Okay, what are Christian ethics? Are we talking Old Testament, New Testament?
What?
Christian ethics.
Yeah, Christian ethics. So
you're conflating like ritualistic purity laws that were essentially only for the Jewish people until the coming of the Messiah, when the Gentiles were grafted in. Like,
so the Mosaic laws don't count.
What?
So the Mosaic laws don't count. We don't follow any of those laws. The laws brought by Moses.
No, I'm talking about the Levitical. I'm talking about the Levitical laws.
Okay, Deuteronomy, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so would you say Jesus's teachings are like moral, or moralistic? Are they like the forefront of all morals? Would you say Jesus's direct teachings?
Well, he is God is good. Like goodness comes from God. So ultimately,
and you do know that
it's not just, but like orthodoxy isn't just moral, like reducible to a moralistic framework. It's truly deeper than that.
The Gospels have been changed numerous times, like in insane amounts of times. They've been edited and changed and rearranged and added stories.
That's not true.
Can I tell you one of my favorite examples?
Did you know that you can recreate almost the entire Bible through quotes from like early church fathers, like first to fifth century?
Can I give you a great example?
And it's the same. And it's the same. Do you know what we use as an Old Testament as Orthodox Christians?
What do you guys use?
The Septuagint.
Okay, like the original thing. Okay, that's cool. But that's a great example. You know, the he without sin cast the first stone story, which is one of my favorite Jesus stories. That only appears in the Gospel of John, right? And in the first 300 years of it, it never appears anywhere in any of the scripts, okay? And then one day a scribe, and we actually have this text, which is amazing. The scribe actually writes the story down at the bottom of the Gospel of John. It was just a side note that he had heard the story to say like, hey, I heard the story about Jesus. He came in, the prostitute, he would sin cast the first stone, and he writes it at the bottom. Within 100 years, that story has been moved into the Gospel of John.
What's your source for this? Because that's I can counter that.
I highly recommend you guys watch someone or learn from someone called Dr. Bart Ehrman.
We know who Dr. Bart Ehrman is. We know who Bart Ehrman is.
Yeah, he's the modern day lolcow.
In terms of academic, you can't really beat him in terms of his academic background and his understanding of the Bible. And it's stuff that I've double checked myself.
That's an appeal to authority if you're like
no, well, it's just, and it's also because he's an atheist. He doesn't have a dog in the fight. He's just doing his job, I think, which is really cool. He's not trying to convince anyone of anything. He's like, this is just what the texts say. You can go look them up. But you do need to know, like, the morals of Jesus, like the best one, his best moralistic teaching. It's easier for a camel to pass the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into heaven. Why does nobody listen to that one? Why is everybody forgotten about that one?
I think his best one is that there's no greater love than for a brother to lay down his life for his friends.
Yeah, so he had some weird ones like make no thought for the morrow, and he had some really interesting.
I have that stat, by the way.
What was that was a strange one, but come on, the money thing, dude.
Well, that's because like ultimately from our paradigm, like when he says like don't worry about tomorrow because today has enough evil in itself. Like ultimately, it's teaching us to be faithful, to not worry about these things because God will provide.
Do you think Jesus is God?
Yeah.
Is Jesus God? Yes.
Like the same person, the Trinity. Are you guys down with the Trinity?
Not the same person. It's three persons in one essence.
Okay, because that's
they're co-equal and consubstantial.
So then, who was Jesus talking to in the garden when he was praying?
He's praying to the Father.
If Jesus is God, why did Jesus?
He's praying. He's praying qua his humanity, showing like it's a theanthropic activity. So he is showing his full humanity in that moment for pedagogy.
Okay.
And he also understands, like, because the Son is eternally begotten of the Father. There was never a time that the Son was not, because God is unchanging. If God the Father is the Father, that means he eternally has a Son, because he didn't go from not being a father to being a father. They are co-eternal. They are co-equal.
Right before we continue, $2 for Man v. Schultz. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, I'm just gonna read these real quick. Rule number 1: never claim your kids. I'm not sure what direction that's going. If you want to explain in the comments. Secular values all come from second Christian awakening. Atheists shouldn't be too quick to dispense with Christian morality. Yes.
Ooh, that's terribly wrong, Michael.
Better resilience and coping with
wrong, my dude.
Vanderweel in 2016 and 2017 was a study by the Harvard Human Flourishing Program, which is a large longitudinal studies of U.S. nurses, 70,000 participants. Frequent religious service attendance. So nurses have all higher rates of suicide, depression, and drug use because of what they deal with.
I don't blame them. Their jobs are crazy, dude.
Right. Frequent religious service attendance was associated with substantially lower risk of depression and 5-fold lower suicide risk. So if you're a nurse and you're dealing with trauma on a daily basis, the more you go to church, up to a 5 times lower risk of suicide.
Can I give you another that was quite interesting to support your point? The Catholic Church tried to get rid of confession, apparently, like in the 50s or 60s or something like that. And the Americans, what's it called, Association of Psychologists, actually lobbied the church to say, please don't get rid of it, because you add you give such value to people, and you provide such a great service.
When did they ever try to get rid of a sacrament? That's ridiculous. Like, I don't even think they're valid. I don't even think they're a real church, but like that's still like no,
that's definitely a thing, that because who are you to confess these things to a man? Like there's a good like theological argument to why confession shouldn't be like a thing though, as we know it.
The Bible literally tells you to confess your sins to one another.
Yeah, you have to understand.
And then
the paradigm, like if you're gonna make like an argument, you have to like actually do an internal critique.
And the result of that is like if you just go around confessing your sins to everybody, then a lot of gossip happens, a lot of negative consequences come from that. Which is why the people who in the church you trust the most, your spiritual father, is the one who ends up doing the confession.
Can I ask you guys, like, how sure are you that you picked the right? So we've got millions and millions and millions of gods. Like all of them, I'll be honest with you, a bunch of them are I dig Jesus as a character, and his teachers are really cool, but he's pretty lame. Let's be honest. Out of all the gods, you got some really cool gods out there across all the different religions. So you had to pick the right religion.
You're saying the God man who defeated death by death is not cool.
Come on, dude. You're gonna compare him to Odin, bro. Odin at least is a cool character. There's so many. What do you mean, dude? He's like a gangster. Thor would have beat the shit out of Jesus as a character. You know, Jesus all like lame up on the cross, like.
Didn't Odin die from like some super lame thing?
Jesus created Odin, so.
No, okay. So it's actually interesting how it all tracks out. But let me just ask you. So you had to pick the right religion, then you had to pick the right denomination within the religion, and then you had to pick the right and say, are you guys like 100% sure you got it right? Like, how sure are you guys?
Yeah, absolutely 100%. Do you know why?
And do you think everyone else is condemned to hell that didn't? Or how do you think that works?
Well, so what's beautiful about the Orthodox Church is there's not only the church, which is the path to salvation, but there is actually extra normative grace. So God is actually much more gracious than a lot of Protestants are willing to give to him. I can't really speak too much upon that. Schoolboy has more information in that regard.
I'm sorry, I was reading something.
The Orthodox Church, unlike the Protestant Church, has this idea of extra normative means of salvation.
There's a possibility. There's a possibility.
Right.
It's like understanding that God is omnipresent and omnipotent. And
what about the saints? that
So you're
gave
saying
the
that
story.
if you believed it wrong, he'll forgive you. So like if you were Christian but you were
That's
just
not
Anglican instead
that's
of
not
Protestant,
normative.
he'll be like,
That's extra
No.
normative, like, because like we understand also that like heretics, like the word heretic means essentially someone who follows their own way. Like they
Yeah.
cause
Jesus
division.
literally went and preached to a mass of humanity after his death.
Hmm.
And there's a saint who had a vision, and you can explain this better, schoolboy, of was it Aristotle and Plato?
Yeah, it was Saint John Chrysostom, who was like rabidly against Plato. He despised like the Platonism of his time, and pretty much would
Yeah,
constantly
that's crazy.
Plato. And then Plato came to him in a dream and pretty much said, why do you like still like slander me? Like I was one of the first to receive the gospel on the harrowing of Hades. Are you familiar with what the harrowing of Hades is?
No.
That Christ before the resurrection,
Went down to
after-
hell.
yeah, he went down to hell
That's
and
a
preached
cool
the gospel
story.
to the souls trapped there.
Yeah. Because that's really interesting. Do you know about like the whole heaven thing, which is quite interesting with Christians? Is like you bring up the concept of heaven, and these guys have got no idea. It's like
So
they all think they're
Orthodox,
going to-
like Eastern Christianity and Orthodoxy even looks at heaven and hell very differently. Think about it this way. So
okay,
the scripture
there isn't really
describes God as like a purifying fire, and like, or his love as a purifying fire, his energies. And that same fire that can heat up iron, and the iron takes on the property of the fire, right? It can glow with the heat, right? Is the same fire that can consume wood. So heaven and hell are essentially, because Christ assumed human nature truly, all of us will follow after his death and resurrection. Saint Maximus writes that like we will all be resurrected, but will we be resurrected into an ever well-being or an ever ill-being?
So that's why I don't listen to saints. That's why saints are whack, dude. That's why saints are whack, dude. Okay,
well,
Jesus says it directly.
They explicate and they actually have to break. Hold on, listen.
Hold on. Can I tell you
straight?
straight?
Your pinky toe than you have in your whole body.
Please listen real quick. Please listen real quick. Like within our beliefs, we have apostolic succession. So Christ himself appointed the apostles and gave them authority to preach and to teach, and then they picked successors and they passed this on through the laying on of hands and the grace of the Holy Spirit. This is a sacrament in our church, the sacrament of ordination, and this was continued for the last 2,000 years. And we have an unbroken chain going back to what?
Who did Jesus put in charge first?
I mean, we can say that St. Peter was the first among equals.
You're right. And then that charlatan, that scumbag, in my opinion, who's one of the most interesting characters in all of Christianity, Paul, straight up. Paul comes in there and hijacks the whole thing, bro. They should be a movie about that.
His teachings were verified. They were verified by the other apostles, dude.
He was the first incel, bro. That guy hated women so much. Like 1 Timothy, a woman must be silent. Dude, this guy, I think he's honestly one of the most interesting people in all of Christianity. Never met Jesus, went around killing Christians.
Yes, he
7
did.
years later.
Yes, he did. He encountered Christ on the road to Damascus.
But imagine being Peter, okay? Your homie Jesus, who you walked around with, who you spent time with, he's your boy, bro. It's like you and Alex, yeah. You know him, bro. Like you spent time together with this guy. And then he disappears and he leaves you in charge. And he says, Peter, you're in charge, dude. And then he ducks, all right? 7 years later, some guy
he was the first. It was a place of primacy. It wasn't necessarily.
And wait, did you say dies?
Hey,
did you say Peter and then Peter died and then Paul came along? Is that where
no. Peter's alive. Okay, Jesus disappears, goes up into the clouds.
I misheard you.
And then Paul rocks up and he's like, dude, you've never met me, but your homie Jesus actually came and told me everything, and now I'm in charge. And the guy hijacked the religion.
Didn't say he was in charge.
No. He didn't hijack it.
Paul never said that he was in charge.
Yeah, and guess what? They were all skeptical of the guy who was just out there murdering Christians and persecuting the church. Had this miraculous turnaround,
conversion,
right?
Yeah,
he had this miraculous conversion.
What his thought pattern was like, I can't even keep up with killing these. There's too many of them. Every week we go to a new town and there's even more of them. So maybe let me get ahead of this thing and let me get in charge of it, because his moralistic teachings overweigh Jesus's. When you go and you learn about morals from the New Testament, good chance it's going to be Paul and not Jesus who's teaching you this. It's like Paul never met Jesus, dude.
Paul was sent to the. So hold on, Alex, hold on. So like, do you understand?
We have 5 minutes left, by the way.
Peter was sent out to the Jews and Paul was sent to the Gentiles.
Yeah. But I can make that claim. What if I say to you guys right now, Jesus came to me in my dreams last night and said to me that you guys need to give up Christianity and it's all fake. It's the same. It has the same basis as what Paul went around saying.
No,
I
it
think he was a
doesn't.
great salesman.
No, it
I think he was
doesn't.
a great salesman.
Do you think we would test it kind of like how the apostles who walked with Jesus tested Paul?
No, dude. Like I think.
Do you think if Paul were saying completely different things than Jesus, the people who followed him would just give it up because this random guy came and said he had a vision of Jesus?
There's some interesting things that said that they didn't like it. I mean, take for example the woman hating. Paul was the first insult, bro. This guy must have been the most unfuckable, hateful guy because he hated women. Like, and all of a sudden Jesus is rolling around with Mary, giving these people women positions and power. And Jesus is
like
cool
the
with
idea
everybody.
of an incel to Jews would be laughed at.
Okay, that's fine. But the idea is that like Paul comes along and he's like, screw women. They have no rights. They need to be silenced. There's a lot of shit.
So Paul, the same one that said the same thing about marriage, that husbands love your wives like Christ loves the church.
But also like marriage isn't a religious thing.
He hated women. He lifted them. Yeah.
Atheists created marriage. I forgot.
Marriage is a secular, is a civil thing, not a marriage. Yeah, gotcha. like the first marriage predates Christianity by like 2,500 years. Samaria once again. So like marriage is another thing that was just hijacked by the Christians and said, hold on, this is our thing that we sold it. Yeah.
Well, the marriage didn't start in the New Testament. Where'd you get that?
Marriage predates Christianity in all religions. It's the Babylonians, Assyrians, everyone's had marriage all the way back to the Sumerians.
Show us.
The first Google first marriage.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Do you think marriage was a Christian thing?
No,
it was 4,350 years ago in Mesopotamia. It was a business dealing. Marriage was a business dealing. That's what it's always been. It's still a business dealing in most parts of the world. But it's just one of those things that Christianity came along and was like, hey, this is ours. Like that meme about, hey, look what I made. We think God takes the thing. It's not that. But dude, just before we jump off, I've got to run. I think you're very awesome. And I think even though I'm secular and you guys are religious,
I do respect you coming up here.
No, thank you. And I think you guys.
So when is ancient? I want to ask you something. When is ancient Sumer like actually like dated to? Like when do you think it was? Like the origins of Sumeria.
What like is in the date or like how many years ago? 4,500, 5,000 years ago. We kind of work on those numbers there. You're looking at about 3,000 BC. It kind of starts popping up. Like
okay, and when do like young Earth creationist Christians like myself, when do we date like the Garden of Eden to?
Oof, I don't even know. But
like how old is the Earth in my paradigm?
Oh fuck! Isn't it like 6,000 years? Because somebody added up all the dates of all the
like
people in the Bible.
Yeah, it's like 6,500 and change. Yeah,
that's so dumb, dude. Like we know there are trees that are like there's things that are older than that. We know that for a fact. We know the Earth is billions of years old.
How do we know that?
Yeah, because we have rock samples. We got fossil records. We have so much stuff. It's crazy. And 6,000 years ago is recent.
So
the rock tells you how old it is.
Do you know about the flood, for example? Your flood story.
Hold on, answer my question. Because we're eventually going to get to carbon dating, right? You're going to say, oh,
yeah. Well, there's radioactive dating. Look, I'm not a scientist, and I can't speak on exactly how you date things.
Is carbon dating a type of radioactive dating?
As far as I understand, look, I'm not going to put myself on any. I'm not a dating scientist.
You can even grant
the idea that the world is 6,000 years old.
I'll grant you that. Now let me explain. Let me explain to you why like radioactive. Hold on.
Have you heard of the Göbekli Tepe in Turkey? That's 10,000 years old. That's 10,000. We really doubled past your age already. I mean, you really think that doesn't was a thing?
That's not a defeater. Do you understand why?
Why?
Because if God created something with an apparent age, and you measure it and it says it's apparent age, like similar, look, here's an example. If Christianity is true, right? God created Adam, right?
Yeah.
God create Adam as a baby.
Well, no, I don't think so. No.
So if you took a doctor and you transported him to the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
No. don't worry, it's Lilith. No.
Yeah.
So Adam, right? So what's the doctor going to do to tell Adam's age? Let's say God creates Adam and 10 seconds later, he puts a modern doctor there. What's the doctor going to do to tell the age of Adam?
He's going to cut him in half and count his rings.
No, he's going to measure his bones, right? He's going to look at his teeth.
No,
he's going to make all of this.
You guys are cool.
No. Listen to it. Listen to it before you start judging. You don't even hear the argument. The doctor's going to say, let's say he says, based on my observation, this man is 17 years old. But God created him 10 seconds ago. That's how apparent age works. Does that make sense?
Let me put it to you this way.
No,
When
not
it
at
comes
all.
to okay, let me give you an analogy. I give you a candle. It's 10 inches
Yeah.
long. It's lit, right? You didn't
Yeah.
see me light it. I tell you that the candle burns at a rate of 1 inch per hour.
Mm-hmm.
I then ask you, how long has the candle been burning?
Mm-hmm.
What's your answer?
No, like this is crazy, dude. Like we have fossil.
Can you
like
can
we
you at
know
least
it
engage?
for a
Can you at least
fact.
engage? Can you at least engage with the
So then,
question?
hold on. Tell me, are dinosaurs real or those planted by the devil, like fossils?
What does
No, they're-
dinosaur mean? What's
They're
the
made up like human
what's the,
rights.
No. I think they
So we know they're
existed.
hundreds of millions of
I
years
think when
old.
the Bible talks about dragons, I think that they actually existed.
Nah, guys, come on, come on.
Will you at least engage with my the thought
No,
exercise that I'm doing with you?
honestly,
Hold
everything else
on,
is really
Boone,
interesting.
stay
But young
on
Earth
track.
creationism
It's
is
1:30. It's
insane.
1:30 in the morning for me, and I'm going to bed very
Yeah.
soon here.
Okay,
So
go read the Epic of Gilgamesh. The first speaking of
Okay,
of
Billy
the
Carson.
Noah's flood. Okay, which actually goes before that as well. But Noah's flood, all these stories come from somewhere. Do you know what's really interesting? Do you know where the Jewish people came from? Do you know where the Jewish people and the Torah and all the Abrahamic religions? Do you know what happened just before them? We have a thing called the Bronze Age collapse in 1177 BC. Okay, it's one of the coolest stories in all of history, and I suggest your listeners and you guys check it out. We have the sea people who we still don't know who they are today. This mysterious group of people comes out of what we think is Europe, and they go along the Levant, down the Mediterranean, and they wipe out everyone, like everyone. The Neo-Babylonians, the Syrians, all the way down to Egypt. Okay, and the Egyptians are the only people, Ramses III, to actually fight off the sea people. But what we have there is the fall of Canaan. And in Canaan, in the Canaanite society and the religion, we know Yahweh was the water god, okay? And Yahweh, this water god of the Canaanite religion, just reappears about 200, 300 years later in the Jewish religion. So the sea people pulling Canaan apart and the rest of the Middle East apart caused the Jewish people to kind of spin off from there. Like,
Boone,
it's
if I
really
give you
cool
a
that-
10-inch candle that's lit, and I tell you it's been lit for 2 hours,
yeah,
or no, I tell it. Never mind. It burns at a rate of one. Hold on. It burns at a rate.
I need to
of
run.
1
Hold on, but let's carry on this conversation.
Dude, you're not going to gish gallop and take this over. Stop. Sit back and
Oh.
answer the question.
I need to run as well. I got to go to gym. But
Yeah,
you guys
you've
are
been
awesome.
running the whole time.
All
You
right,
guys are
look,
cool. Seriously, I like you guys a lot. You're very cool.
Schoolboy likes to hop up when I do debate streams. So if you see a
Yeah,
debate stream,
yeah, we
Schoolboy
can do
will be
we can do
around.
it another time, man.
My Schoolboy, you're very cool. Thank you for listening to each other. Alex, you're a great dudes. And anyone out there, look after yourselves, spread some love, like fucking just spread some positivity to the world out there. Everybody.
Christ is king.
Yeah.
Worship God.
Whatever it is, whatever makes you a good person, do it.
I do respect
Respect
you
you guys.
coming up here and debating because not many people are willing to do that. So
No,
nice to meet
thank
you.
you for being awesome.
God bless.
Keep up the big work. Sweet.
You
Cheers,
too,
guys.
Peace.
All right.
This was a fun night, Schoolboy.
Yeah, it was. It was a good time.
I enjoy this. We should do this again.
Feminism debates are kind of like not my cup of tea. I did want to see it because I was laughing like when
the story is what made you want to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
How she traveled to DebateCon to announce that she was a debate coach.
Yeah, like I needed to see how that went. Just my morbid curiosity to see Carl Weiser go up against.
Yeah, this was a fun night. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for the super chats. Apparently the link didn't work if you put www. So maybe we would have gotten more people. I got to figure out an easier way to do the link. But when I put just the StreamYard link, nobody seems. They're like, I can't click it. It's like, just type it in. But all right. Yeah.
Hold on. Pull up Ricky's comment because that's one of the dumbest things I've seen in a while.
If your argument lasts more than 5 minutes, you're both wrong. Gosh, they're doing it wrong in court, man. They're doing it really wrong in court.
And also learn grammar because you are wrong about how to spell that version of your.
It's funny. And no, I'm not smoking weed. This is a vape. It's a nicotine vape. It's a mini Mike Tyson. I've never heard of these, but it was the cheapest one. And yes, they are gay. And yes, it makes me gay for smoking one. But no, I say that in jest because being gay is morally impugnant. Is that how you say it?
Yep.
Yeah. And
Repugnant.
So, repugnant. Yeah. Well, you just agreed with that.
I was being nice. I'm tired.
Yeah, it's late. We were streaming for almost 3 hours. I appreciate y'all for being here. I'm pretty sure Kick gives you 1 or 2 viewers just to make you not go crazy, because there's been 1 or 2 viewers and not a single chat there. I don't think anybody went over there. But
I've
be
never
sure to
used
check out.
Kick, so I have no idea how it works.
Yeah. Well, I've heard streamers, the kid who does the mystery boxes at pawn shops?
I thought you were gonna say the one that I've seen on TikTok that gives he's like mystery box or $1,
Yeah.
and he walks up to
Yeah.
random girls and then they open it up
No,
and
the
it's
Chinese
Louis Vuitton.
Asian kid.
No, I don't know if
Huh?
he's Asian, but it's really funny. They open it up, it's a Louis Vuitton box, and then they open it like they think they're about to get shoes, and it's like a cucumber and baby oil, and it's such
Oh
a,
yeah.
it's
And he's
such a
just doing
dumb
rain
prank.
bet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got like a box of condoms in it. And they just look up and then he takes
Yeah.
a picture of them like when they're just like disgusted at him. It's so stupid.
Dude, pranks have been going wild ever since betting companies have been paying them to do the rain bet thing when they're doing
Yeah.
pranks. You
Yeah.
ever see the AI pranks?
No.
Dude. So this guy takes a picture of an old guy. And then
Oh
he's like,
yes, I
"Dude, you-"
have. And he's like, "Was this you?" Yes. It's like climbing up on the shelves. It's like the old lady sitting there. That's not me.
Yeah. Oh man, dude, it's getting wild out there.
Yep.
All right. Well, I appreciate y'all for being here. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I do debate streams all the time. I think I'm just gonna start doing them more often. This is what people like to see. So have a good night, guys.
God bless, guys.
Peace.